2019,
Is there a governing body?
Insists that tennis's participation has not been damaged due to paddle's popularity.
There is a school of thought that says that the governance of the LTA is the wrong place for paddle to be held under, because there is a thought process there. It is being strangled by the tennis governance, that it is being put into a situation where it is beginning to stop the food chain and supply chain of people playing tennis. There is a school of thought that suggests that there should be an alternate governing body set up that's specifically for paddle, which then can bring in excellent coaching, because unless you're registered as a sport in your own right and have your own set of parameters, you find it difficult to get certain things in place, like work permits for overseas coaches, because a lot of the expertise in paddle is from South America and Spain, because that's where the sport originated from.
Started, yeah.
And so to get work permits for coaches to come over here and to actually provide the excellence to coach the next generation of paddle coaches is a part and parcel of perhaps taking it out of the LTA. And I was put a proposal across my desk about 6 months ago with an investable opportunity looking at creating its own governing body and taking it out from underneath the LTA, because there is a strong thought within those that operate in the paddle field that the LTA are doing precisely what they say they're not doing here.
Talksport Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
Good afternoon, I'm Max Scott here with your sports headlines. We've been told the tide of opinion is turning on Arne Slot.
I think a lot of fans don't think they'll get in the top four the way they're playing. Now, there is always the chance you can win the Champions League. You don't have to be best team in it to win it.
Talksport's Danny Murphy says only a European title would prevent Slot receiving his P45, but not a domestic one.
I don't even think the FA Cup would save him if he finished out the top four and got knocked out of the Champions League.
Liverpool are fifth after losing at Wolves, and Rob Edwards might be overseeing an impressive upturn in form, but Simon Jordan's still not a fan.
I'm happy to be wrong if, in that respect. Do I think he was a treacherous hound? Yeah, I do. Do I think there's change? No.
You sat in that seat and said, I hope they go down.
I do. I want him to go down, not the football club.
The teams meet again at Molineux in the FA Cup live on Talksport this Friday night. Meanwhile, Galatasaray won't be able to sell tickets for Anfield in the Champions League this month. UEFA's decision is due to Galatasaray fans throwing missiles and lighting fireworks at Juventus. Talksport's Adrian Durham has slammed FIFA's decision to move next year's international break to the Easter weekend. The Good Friday to Easter Monday doubleheader is known as make or break.
It's a tradition that we need to keep in this country, so I'm gutted about it. Even though I love international football, I don't think the calendar has to change to accommodate this and to abolish Easter football. I think it's a real shame.
Six Nations and bottom of the table Wales make three changes from their defeat to Scotland. Fly half Dan Edwards, wing Ellis Mee and back row Jonathan Botham all start. And some breaking news from the world of golf. Luke Donald is set to captain Europe at the 2027 Ryder Cup. He'll look to become the first person to get three consecutive victories.
Talk Sport News.
Sir Keir Starmer's defended his decision on the war in Iran and confirms 8 flights will leave the UAE back for the UK today with British nationals on board. More from the news team at past.
Talk Sport weather with QuickFit. Whatever the winter weather, Bridgestone Turanza All Season 6 tyres. Guaranteed for 25,000 miles. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Cloudy and breezy with patchy rain across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, low cloud and fog slowly lifting before some pleasantly warm sunshine.
when that music comes on, I do my chair dancing like an old geezer. It makes Donald Trump dancing look like he's a member of Diversity, which I think you'll agree is a pretty unusual thought.
Donald Trump dancing is when he does that, drying himself with a towel in the gym.
Yeah.
I've got another punchline for that, Danny, but I'm not allowed to say it or do it on YouTube.
Okay, thank you very, very much indeed. For those who are tuning in for Hawksby and Jacobs, a double disappointment today because they're both missing.
Yep.
And they've been replaced from, let me just check, right down the bottom, the very bottom of the barrel. It's me, Danny Kelly, and him, Charlie Baker. We've worked many times together before on this show, and I hope we can at least bring you some of the fun and enlightenment that the lads normally bring you. Of course, we've got football, cricket, darts, golf, a whole lot of other stuff. Your big story breaking in the world of golf, as you probably heard a few seconds ago. And over the next 3 hours, we hope we can make you laugh and think and listen up throughout the 180 minutes here on Talksport, where you're listening to Kelly and Baker. We'll get some real content on in a minute, Charlie. But first of all, how are you?
I'm very, very good. I mean, people are disappointed. It's Hawksby and Jacobs. Then here it's Kelly and Baker, and it's not even that one. It's not even the real one of those.
No,
so, you know, it's Timu, the Timu Andy Jacobs, the Facebook Marketplace Danny Baker. Here I am, best in my price range, Charlie Baker.
But it's only 17 quid for a dozen, to be fair. You know?
Exactly. I'm very well, Danny. I'm excited about that golf news. I love golf. I love the Ryder Cup. I've been to 3 Ryder Cups. I've been to the one in Paris and Glen Eagles and at Celtic Manor in Wales. I absolutely love it as a tournament. I think it's one of the best sporting formats ever. And Luke Donald embraces it, and he's driven that team forwards. And superb decision.
And our golf king, our golf czar, Rupert Bell, will join us a little later to discuss the significance of this. But no doubt we'll talk about whether or not John Rahm will be here in Ireland for the tournament, because at the moment it looks like he won't be making it. I know you're very, very, let me just check the contract here, very, 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 extremely very keen to talk about Spurs and relegation. But hold on for 1 second, because obviously I know you as a multi-platform performer, television, tap dancing, radio, online, podcast. But now you're taking over the running of actual association football in this country.
This felt like it got out of hand, to be honest. On Monday, I found myself going into the Wembley Stadium, Danny.
Yes.
In the players'
the National Stadium,
in the players' entrance.
Whoa.
And I went into where the coach pulls up on FA Cup day, and I went in the dressing room, the actual England dressing room, the FA Cup final dressing room that you see. It is enormous. I couldn't believe the size of it.
Right.
And was given free run of the place, told, sit where you like, do what you like. You know, I went for a wee. I thought, Harry Kane's had a wee in here. I wonder which booth he chose. I wonder which one he went. There's been some nervous poos in this dressing room, I thought, at some point.
This is not going the way I hoped.
And then I had to wander out onto near the pitch in the stadium on my own. But then I ran the draw for Talksport 2 of the Isuzu FA Trophy and FA Vase, with Gary Cahill, with the FA Velvet bag. And all my cosplaying Des Lynam dreams came true.
Oh, absolutely. Now, let me ask you a question. Do they still use a velvet bag and balls rather than one of those Perspex machines like you're at the bingo?
No, the bowl is Perspex.
Yes.
But the bag, the velvet bag, felt like the OG velvet bag, and the balls felt like the OG balls. So I think this is real.
All serious. Look. You know that you follow non-league football thanks to the fortunes of Torquay United.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in it because I think the football pyramid is the beating heart of English football.
Yeah.
What did it feel like that you're actually pulling competitive matches out? One of these teams is going to win a trophy this year.
I can do all the jokes I like. It was a genuine thrill. It was a genuine schoolboy thrill, and you get a Proustian rush of those balls in that velvet bag clinking about and then being swizzed around in the bowl, you do get this feeling of, oh, I've watched this. You feel like you're in some sort of weird film, you know. It's very similar to when I was in EastEnders, and you walk around Albert Square and you feel like you know where you are because you've seen it so many times when you walk around it as an actor, you know. Anyway, that was in EastEnders.
Very similar to the first time you met me, you know.
Exactly, Danny. Exactly. They always say don't meet your heroes, but not true. Sometimes you just try and work with them. But it was a brilliant day, and we drew all the teams out, and there were
one
no
last
mistakes.
thing about this. Then, so you take out the ball, you hold it up to, I presume there's a camera. And
that was Gary's job. That wasn't my job. That was Gary Cahill's job. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. So number 16, and then do you have it? Is it handwritten? Is it?
Yeah. Well, it was the semi-finals, so it was only four teams.
So you could have learned those off by heart.
I could have done.
Yeah.
But luckily we had Talksport non-league expert Tony and Chenzo there to give us the real. We had a grown-up there, you know, a non-league grown-up to tell us properly. But Punjab United and Heenham and Southport and Southend and some other teams, Danny.
Yeah, not Southend United, different Southend.
No, Southend United. Southend United, because they are non-league, so they were in the FA Trophy.
Yep, and Southport, of course, for all
Sandgrounders.
Most of my adult life were a league club, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, it was great. It was a real thrill and a privilege to do, actually.
Yeah, I must admit, I didn't have the same experience as you of being ushered in through the golden arches of the Wembley main arena. When I went there recently to do a boxing show for Talksport with Simon Jordan, because Alexander Usyk was in the building, and obviously because of the illegal war of Russia on Ukraine, there was a great deal of security. So we were ushered in through a side door where I don't think the place had been cleaned for 2.5 years. I got to be honest. We were ushered in through a rusty door at the back of the stadium. It wasn't as good. No. I guess my best stadium experience of that kind, where you're going somewhere you think, I didn't thought it'd ever be here. A million years ago, when the Earth was young, the band Colourfield were very popular.
Okay.
And I went to interview Terry Hall, the late great Terry Hall, who left us so recently. Massive Manchester United fan. Whether he was on tour with the Specials or Funboy 3 or Colourfield, he would always schedule the gigs to coincide with Manchester United's fixtures. A massive Man United fan. So I got up to Manchester, actually, to interview him, and we managed to break into Old Trafford and conduct the interview on the centre circle at Old Trafford.
Oh, fantastic.
I think it was very good.
Don't tell Sir Jim that. He'll
probably charge you rent. I know, charge. Of course, I have to pay ground rent for that, and possibly, gardening fees.
To go back in time.
It was an amazing. No one bothered us. We just wandered into the stadium.
Wow.
Of course, those sort of steep banks up onto the pitch. Up we go, puff, puff, out into the centre circle. I talked to Terry for 45 minutes into a tape recorder. Nobody came anywere near us. Different times.
Terry had quite a stern look about him, if I remember rightly.
He did.
Brilliant singer, brilliant performer.
But a very nice person as well, despite the scowling demeanour which he had. I've done it. I've got to the break without talking about Spurs getting relegated.
We'll get to it, Danny. We'll get to it.
Hooray for me! I think we're going to get to it rather too soon because our next guest here
going on an EFL tour. EFL tour.
All right. Well, here you are. I'll talk about it later, but. The season, I'm old enough to have been there the last time Spurs went down in the mid-70s. The following season, in the old Division 2, now the Championship, it's my favourite ever Spurs season. We had a brilliant time. Now, the world has changed. The players will all leave. I won't be able to bowl up to Stoke with 10,000 other Spurs fans and all the rest of it. But here's some text you can give out the numbers, Charlie, homework for us. And that is... Supposing a huge club, supposing Spurs got relegated, what would be the positives of Spurs getting relegated? And don't just say to get rid of Spurs out of the Premier League. What would, for Spurs fans like myself, what would the positives be about a season or more in the Football League?
Some positive for Spurs, 03717 223344 on the phone, and 81089.
Thank you, 81089. And next up, we'll have somebody who's got a finger in many of the pies that were playing last night. The former Liverpool forward and Wolves manager, of course, Dean Saunders, will come on to talk to us about Liverpool and their season that would best be described as stuttering, I suppose, and Wolves, who have hit a rich vein of form, and possibly too late, but who knows? Well, that's coming up next here. We'll listen to Kelly and Baker with me, Danny Kelly, and him, Charlie Baker, on Talksport. We'll also keep you across the first semi-final of the T20 Cricket World Cup between South Africa and New Zealand, because I'm hoping that tomorrow England can beat India and we'll play one of those teams in the final.
Let's go to Danny. He's a Spurs fan. Dan?
All right, Danny boy.
Evening, lads. How are you?
I'm all right, Dan. I'm all right. Look, it has turned into an absolute mess at this football club. I don't know what the answer is anymore.
You know what it is, Jamie, and I'm amazed. Enix seemed to get a get out of jail free card. Not enough people talking about them. They've been at our club for 25 years. 25 years. Yes, they buy a couple of decent players, but we all know they're not paying the wages. But it is time to get rid. And I've been at the club. I'm not a season ticket holder, but I do go every now and again. And it is so quiet. It's tame. No wonder away teams come there and give us a pasting from time to time. But you know, it's like a perfect storm. You've got our captain Romero. He wants out of the club. I look at Mickey van der Ven. He wants out. Yeah. And then what we have done is brought goodish young players coming through the club, and they need the older pros to develop them, keep them under their wing, and sort of progress. But it's like the Titanic there at the minute.
Yeah, but listen, Dan, I get...
Rats sink clear in the Titanic.
I hear what you're saying, right? I hear you, but...
Hello and welcome to Talksport Goals. We're taking you through what should be another busy day of football.
Chance to win it!
We don't need to do that, guys.
I'm going to owe you an apology.
How would you get to that conclusion? That's a weak mentality.
Oh, get out of it.
Everton 2, Burnley 0. Maybe this home hoodoo is about to end. It's Kiernan Dewsbury Hall who's got it. It's a lovely bit of football, actually.
Diarra to put Sunderland in front. Steps up, slow run up, and it's got a hand on it, and it's gone into the corner of the net. Darlow thought he'd saved it.
Rodrigo Gomez with the goal to put Wolves 1-0 up here against Liverpool.
Well, it honestly felt like that was there. Liverpool just hadn't been good enough.
Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. Bournemouth's wait for their first ever Premier League victory over the Bees continues.
They are still in the relegation dogfight. Ends here at Ellen Road. Leeds 0, Sunderland 1.
It's Wolves 2, Liverpool 1 in the 94th minute.
Andre picks up the ball, drives with that extra bit of energy, low and bobbled off Joe Gomez, up and over Alisson.
And Wolves have beaten Liverpool by 2-1.
Yeah, that's how last night's pretty bonkers quartet of Premier League matches unfolded.
Yeah.
Here on Talksport, and of course you're listening to Kelly and Baker on Talksport in partnership with Toolstation. Next stop, Toolstation, to help us discuss those Premier League games last time. I'd like to say, joined by somebody who's played and managed some of these clubs. Indeed, he's a former Liverpool legend and manager at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Great friend of the station, of course. It's a big hello to Dean Saunders.
Hello,
Hi, Dino.
Afternoon, lads.
Okay, well, which is the more amazing story that we watched last night? Wolves' recovery of form or Liverpool's stuttering season, Dino? Which one is catching your eye?
Well, obviously, I kept my eye on both, but you look at Liverpool and you try and trace back what's wrong, because it's not obvious what's wrong. There's obviously something wrong. And I try and trace the tracks back. They won the league and let 8 players go. Kelleher, Trent, Andy Robertson's not playing, Quansah, Harvey Elliott, Nunez, Diaz, all of them jotted, unfortunately. All of them players were part of the squad that won the league. If you let 8 players go, they'd probably all of them be playing, getting games now. And that's why the form stayed quite consistent. But I'm looking at the squad now. It's nowhere near as good as last year. And the style of football slightly changed. They're obviously trying to keep possession more. There's not as many diagonal balls from Van Dijk. There's no Trent's diagonal balls where he hit Diaz's chest. Andy Robertson flying down the outside of him. And the biggest problem as well, one of the biggest problems, the front 3 don't press and win the ball back like they used to. So it's a combination of that.
It feels to me like they let the urgency go, like they let the energy in that team go. So it feels like a team without an engine a lot of the time that's coasting. They only found their energy and urgency last night, Dean, when when Liverpool scored their equaliser.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go back, and I don't want to hammer him. Curtis Jones has won the ball back in the corner flag with 5 minutes to go. He looks up the channel, and it's football snobbery, Danny. He's refused to put his foot through the ball up the channel. He's hit a hospital ball back to Alisson, who's ended up shanking it into the middle of the pitch, where that intensive care pass where you play a ball blind into the middle of the pitch. And Wolves have ended up picking the clearance up and scoring from it. The first goal, Van Dijk's got ragdolled a bit. But no, you're right. No one seems to mention hard work anymore. It's all like tactics. And what about... I mean, I used to put a training session on, and I've been part of training sessions where I was at clubs, top clubs, where, I mean, even at Liverpool, we had Ronnie Moran, Roy Evans, Graham Souness, Phil Bosma were the coaches. And we would put a session on where we'd play in half a pitch, and it was the front 3, say, against the back 4, the goalkeeper and a midfield player. And the back 4 could score by running the ball over the halfway line. We had to get the ball back off them. So it was like a training session, which was really hard work. So we had to anticipate where the ball was going and then put the effort in to steal the ball back. Well, you put Liverpool's midfield 3 behind that session, which would be, in the past, it was Milner, Henderson and Fabinho, say.
Yeah.
They would win the ball back off you. So your job as a front 3 or front 4 was to put teams under pressure, make them hit bad passes into midfield or rush, and the midfield players would nick the ball off them. That's gone, I think.
Yeah. Dino, you talked about football snobbery. Do you think it helps when the manager Arne Slot talking about the way the Premier League is, at least this season particularly, where it's about directness and set pieces and all the rest of it, and looks like Arsenal will win the title playing like that to a large extent, for him to turn around and play a more possession-based game and then to say that he doesn't like what's happening. It strikes me that he'd be better off not saying anything and just getting used to what's happening and getting on with it.
No, again, it's football snobbery. What you think Van Dijk hitting a diagonal 60 yards to Mo Salah is a long ball. It's not.
It's a long pass. It's brilliant.
You've got to mix it up. You've got to mix it up. If you keep playing short passes and teams watch you, obviously managers work a plan out. If you keep playing short passes sideways and square, the opposition's back four get right up on the halfway line because there's never a ball going in behind them. So the way you get them back, going back towards their own goal, is by hitting balls over the top, which the likes of Drogba and Ian Rush would turn into a goal. They would turn clearances into a goal. And it's as if Curtis Jones last night, that I can't just hit that up the channel. That's not what we do. It's nonsense football. In fact, it's self-destruct football.
I will say with Curtis Jones, I think that's probably how he's been coached his whole life.
That's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying. Yeah. Just a quick word on Rob Edwards. I think he's done a really good job, Dean. He went in there when they were absolutely on their uppers, and he got rid of quite a lot of players in the January window. He's got quite a compact unit. He's given them some belief, and you'd have to be hopeful for them next season in the Championship.
Yeah, I actually walked into a similar situation where there's been a few managers and the ship is sinking, and somehow you've got to walk in the dressing room, bearing in mind they've heard everything you're going to say before from other managers. Yeah. There's not a hidden secret in football where you say, right, what we're going to do is this now, and we're going to make you all really good. You do get a reaction because players start thinking, I hope he likes me. Yeah, that's what happens when you see a bounce. It's because players go, oh, the manager's left, he's walked out. I didn't realise he was going to get sacked. I better impress this next manager. So he's got to get them all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, which is difficult when you've got 4 groups of players signed by 4 different managers and none of them want to be at the club. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they all want to leave. And they talk to their agents and say, get me out of here, we're going down. So you've got a group of players, somehow you've got to galvanise. And I have to say, I like Rob Edwards, and I was his coach with Wales, and I've sat with him and had dinner with him. He's a really nice lad and a really simple sort of work ethic type man. And that's what I can imagine what he's saying to the players at Wolves, but he's given them too much to do. It's not his fault what's going on at Wolves.
No.
He's just trying to patch things up. But I would say 15 of those players won't be there next season, and they'll be in the Championship. It's just got too much to do.
Listen, Dino, always great
great
fun
insight.
and an education to hear from you. Thank you very, very much, Dean Saunders there, everybody. We will be talking about other aspects of that relegation battle between now and the end of the show at 4 o'clock. Listen, if you want to get more reaction to Tuesday's Premier League fixtures, then you can catch up on all of the fallout from last night with Angelina Kelly and European football expert Dougie Critchley in the latest episode of the Talksport Daily podcast, available on all podcast platforms and, of course, from the ever easy-to-use Talksport app.
that Cole Palmer would need an extra lung to cope with the relentless schedule. So we're back to this non-stop conveyor belt of games that players seem to be on all the time. Until moving to Chelsea in the summer of 2023, Cole Palmer had not played more than 1,000 minutes of senior football in one season.
Right.
He played 3,750 minutes for Chelsea in his first campaign, 4,180 minutes
40 games.
in his last season.
So?
No, but Maheta goes on. And this wasn't a conversation that happened in the toilet. This is me quoting him from elsewhere.
You followed him around, did you?
I did. When I look at someone like Cole Palmer, if he goes to the World Cup, well, he probably will, won't he?
Yeah.
He could go 3 consecutive summers without a break.
Oh, dear.
People will say he's a millionaire. Yes, he is. But it doesn't give you an extra lung or leg. I want to see Cole Palmer on the pitch because he's the one that makes me dream. So he's back banging the drum again about potential burnout. But do your complaints, Simon, become less effective the more you beat the same drum?
Well, your complaints are useless unless you can provide a solution to the ever-decreasing circle of the requirements of finances to meet the expectations of his own members that don't actually pay anything to be in his union, or pay such a small amount that it's equivalent to an ice cream. That there is no circle to square here. I don't care about their opinion. I care about their suggestion of what the solution looks like.
Is the tide of opinion turning on Arne Slot?
I think a lot of fans don't think they'll get in the top 4 the way they're playing. Now, there is always the chance you can win the Champions League. You don't have to be the best team in it to win it.
Talksport's Danny Murphy says a European title would prevent Slot receiving his P45, but not a domestic one.
I don't even think the FA Cup would save him if he finished out the top 4 and got knocked out of the Champions League.
Liverpool are 5th after losing at Wolves. Meanwhile, Galatasaray won't be able to bring fans to Anfield this month. UEFA's decision is due to their fans throwing missiles and lit fireworks at Juventus. Elsewhere, the new All Blacks head coach Dave Rennie isn't fazed by the size of the task he's facing.
I'm extremely proud and honoured, as I've mentioned this morning. You know, I'm well aware of the expectations and responsibility of the role I'm going to be in, but I'm really excited by it.
The last guy, Scott Robertson, was sacked with a 74% win rate. Rennie is the first New Zealand head coach with Pacifica heritage. And Talksport's Adrian Durham has slammed FIFA's decision to move next year's international break to the Easter weekend. The Good Friday Easter Monday double header is known as make or break.
It's a tradition that we need to keep in this country. So I'm gutted about it. Even though I love international football, I don't think the calendar has to change to accommodate this and to abolish Easter football. I think it's a real shame.
There's more on that at talksport.com.
Listen to Hawksby and Jay because we've got a lot to get through in this next few minutes, including with the news that Luke Donald has been appointed as the Ryder Cup captain for the upcoming tournament in Ireland. John Rahm has also had a very busy week. We'll talk about him as well. Max Scott will join us to talk about the relegation battle. But first, you all know, of course, we're into the semi-final stage of the T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka. Today at the wonderful Eden Gardens in Kolkata, South Africa take on New Zealand. The winners will be potential opponents for England should they win against the host India in tomorrow's semi-final. Let's find out who's won the toss and how they've started. Sam Ellard.
Afternoon, Danny. New Zealand win the toss. They decide to bowl first. Remarkably, both South Africa and New Zealand have never ever won a T20 World Cup. In particular, from a South Africa point of view, they are the perennial underachievers in white ball cricket. For so many years, they always come to these big global tournaments with stacked teams. 2 years ago, in the last T20 World Cup, they lost the final against India that they really should have won. They look, though, in particular in this tournament, in really, really good form. They beat New Zealand in the group phase. They've already beaten India in the Super 8s. New Zealand winning the toss, bowling first. Matt Henry bowled a tight first 4 balls, then he bowled a shorter ball to Quinton de Kock, the powerful left-hander who rocked onto the back foot and pulled the ball to the leg side for a 6. The second over, McConaughey, the off-spinner, is into the attack, and just third ball of his over, Quinton de Kock once again comes down the track and goes over mid-on for a boundary. So de Kock has raced on to 10 from just 7 balls. At the other end, Aidan Markram is the third highest leading run scorer into this tournament. He's in really good touch. And Markram, de Kock, Rickleton, Brevis, Miller, Stubbs. South Africa's top 6 is absolutely stacked. New Zealand have got it all to do. We are into the second over, and South Africa are now 12 for 1 because Quinton de Kock goes for 10. McConaughey with a shorter ball. De Kock goes onto the back foot, looks to go towards the leg side, mistimes the shot, goes high in the air, and Lockie Ferguson takes the catch. Big wicket for New Zealand. 1.4 overs gone. De Kock goes for 10. South Africa 12 for 1.
Yeah, more from Sam as that game unfolds. Meanwhile, huge news from the world of golf. I don't suppose it's a big surprise, but it's been confirmed that Luke Donald will be the captain of Europe's Ryder Cup team in 2027 when the tournament's here at Adair Manor, about 150 miles to my left.
Oh, that's nice.
in
Nice,
Limerick. Here to discuss that, I'm delighted to say, running from one studio to another over the building is our golf czar, Rupert Bell. Hi, Rupert.
Afternoon, Danny. Yes, I've got my foot in about every camp at the moment. I've been talking Cheltenham, but also golf today. So
if only something would happen with the royal family.
The big three.
Thank you, the big three. Charlie, shut up, Charlie. Back in your box. Right. I'm here to talk sport.
Not a surprise, Luke Donald's appointment, but a good appointment, you think, Rupert?
Well, I'm not sure there's anybody else obvious. Justin Rose would be, because obviously we're missing some of the players who've gone to live, and I think the players all said they wanted him. Justin Rose, who's obviously still playing lights out golf, would be the obvious person, and maybe in 3 years' time in America he would be the obvious captain. But he's playing some sensational golf, so rather ruled himself out. You would expect to be in the lineup come September of next year. So for Luke Donald, I think player power might have come into it. Obviously there is a debate about John Rahm's Ryder Cup future and what he's been saying. But for Luke Donald, it's a very time-consuming job. But the one thing, he has put his heart and soul into it since he was, remember, a last-minute appointment after Henrik Stenson was going to be captain. Then he went over to live. So Luke Donald comes in, does an amazing job when they had the Ryder Cup in Italy, and clearly was just brilliant, every step ahead of the Americans in when we were in Bethpage. So Adair Manor, it's plenty of time. What are we, 18 months away? So he's got the time to get into that level of preparation that he brought to the team for the last two Ryder Cups. So the Americans are still umming and ahhing about what they do. Will Tiger, who will do it? Because they made an absolute haulix of it last time.
Yeah, wasn't it?
It was giving it to...
He did a really bad job. It was great.
What fun. What absolute fun it was.
Yeah, it was fun. But poor old Keegan Bradley was just a rabbit. He was just rabbit in headlights.
They should give it to him again.
Well, I think they did. Just
give him
He
another
deserves
go.
a second go. Come on, Keegan.
Give him another go, Keegan. Come on.
Yeah, but I think the pulling power for Tiger would be the fact that he's mates with JP McManus.
I can't think of anyone who'd be worse at it.
Well, the Keegan
It'd be worse than Keegan Bradley.
You think
Tiger.
no Tiger?
Terrible Ryder Cup.
Yeah, but I think the players
record.
respect him, and he would do it with a determination to try and do something what the Americans find hard to do, which is win on European soil. But Adair Manor, I'm told you barely can play on the. If you need to play on the golf course, Danny, you need to take out a mortgage, and it's going to be closed for a substantial length of time before the Ryder Cup comes. But Luke Donald there, I think, is it's a sensible. Players will like it. And maybe he can have a word in John Rahm's ear to say, cough up the fine.
Might be a mistake for Luke, though. Leave at the top, Rupert. That's what they're saying to you, isn't it? Leave at the top. Leave at your peak. So,
I'm sorry, I can't go to Cheltenham next week. A diva moment. I'm told to leave at the top.
Rupert, I don't encourage interpersonal violence, but give him a slap across the back of the head there.
Well, he knows he's ready for Cheltenham next week.
Ready for Cheltenham, yeah, exactly. See you there, Rupert.
Thank you very much, Rupert Bell. Meanwhile, sneaking into Rupert's chair in the studio is football correspondent Max Scott to talk about I've managed to get away with it for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
the relegation battle at the bottom of the Premier League. Good afternoon, Max.
Afternoon, Danny. I'm sorry that we have to be talking on such solemn terms.
Well, let's start with the good news. You're a Forest fan. I'm a Spurs fan. And Leeds' defeat at home, I mean, it's ridiculous that we have to be looking at other matches like this, but Leeds' defeat at home to Sunderland looks like a massive gain for West Ham, Forest and Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely. You we were all raving about Daniel Farke being unbeaten in 24 under the lights. That magic spell he seemed to have has sort of waned a bit. And so, yeah, I think Leeds are still certainly involved, but Forest and Spurs can't buy a win at the minute, and I know that there needs to come a time where we look forensically at the decisions made by our respective clubs at the very top. But what I would say is it seems to me that the players need to take far more responsibility. I think we're so quick, Danny, in this day and age to blame managers for absolutely everything that happens on the pitch.
Max, you're so right, but imagine trying to get, I don't want to come the old man shouting at clouds here, imagine trying to get modern footballers to take responsibility for their actions. It just doesn't happen.
Well, you can't sack the players. That's always the thing. You can't sack the players.
But it seems in Forest's case that the players can sack the manager. It seems very much the case that there's been a unanimous vote of no confidence in the boardroom after that 0-0 draw against Wolves. And whilst Sean Dyche certainly didn't inspire much confidence in recent months because of those results, his win percentage would have kept Forest up. Now, look, Vitor Pereira's been very calm from a Forest perspective. He's not sort of thrown his toys out the pram. He doesn't seem surprised, Danny, by how chaotic it is. Whereas I would say that Igor Tudor seems to be a little bit more frustrated at what he's seeing, and maybe not. He doesn't strike me, Danny, as someone that might get a tune out of the players, where Vitor Pereira's a bit of a vibesman. Whereas Igor Tudor just seems incredibly stern. He seems like a substitute teacher in bottom set maths.
He's got too much on his plate. Spurs, I mean, I'm going to say these words, and I hope I'm proven dramatically wrong over the next 11 games. Spurs concede too many goals. They've got no presence at all in midfield, and their leading goal scorers this season are centre-backs. It's a perfect recipe for getting relegated. No one should be surprised. Max, I know you said Spurs and Forest can't seem to buy a win. I woke up this morning and actually thought about the amount of money Spurs have. Could they actually buy some wins? I think
nefarious activity just to keep
there are teams in the middle of the table who've got points they don't need. Let's buy them from them. Let's try. Yeah,
well,
I'm serious.
I back Mr. Marinakis to be able to buy more wins than.
Yes, well,
I think you're right. I think you're going up the wrong street thinking Leeds are going to drop into it. Leeds have got a pretty decent run-in for themselves.
Yeah, they do. Of course, if you're not winning, Charlie, the running's irrelevant, isn't it? The opponents are irrelevant.
Spurs win the next game. They're no, they're not. well, they're close to Leeds. I just think it's closer than we think. There's a lot of football yet to be played, but for my money, Danny, there needs to be far more attention on the players, because I think there is a little bit of, it must be so difficult, all this managerial change, particularly at Nottingham Forest, and I think they haven't got time to feel sorry for themselves. They're incredibly well paid, and I think bar the likes of someone like Morgan Gibbs-White, who seems to be trying desperately to carry this team on his back, there just seems a bit of apathy. And I know it must be a difficult professional environment working at a football club ran like Spurs and Forest this season, but that doesn't wash for me, I don't think, Danny. I think this is all about the psychology of the players, I think, and who's going to prevail.
It is so close. If West Ham win tonight and Forest don't, they leapfrog Forest. If Forest win tonight, they leapfrog Spurs. If Spurs win Thursday, they leapfrog Leeds United. Yes. So it's going to be it's an incredibly, unlike last year's relegation race, it's like a kaleidoscope of possibilities. And I wish I had a crystal ball to see into the kaleidoscope, if you know what I mean.
I think Forest are in the best position because they've been in it all season, so they're not going to be shocked by it. Spurs players seem to be getting dragged into it and don't want to be. Leeds may have felt like they were more or less safe, but Forest have been there all season and know how to fight. Know they're in a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny, I'm keen to understand, what do you make of the sort of Spurs are too big to go down, or Spurs are too good to go down? Because and this isn't, I don't want this to be a my dad's harder than yours chat, but I would say that on paper Forest have probably got a better squad even than Spurs, and that's obviously a criticism of the recruitment. But do you buy that idea that Spurs are too good or too big a club to get relegated?
They're certainly not too good to go down. I think the league results over the past 2 years suggest, and we see this with teams that get relegated, they often circle the drain for a couple of years. Too big to go down. Well, obviously, that's if you don't get the points, you will go down. What would be interesting, even if they sold every player they had, was the effect of having a team the size of Spurs in the Championship. I spoke to a financial expert the other day who said to me, think about this, Danny. The money Spurs make off the pitch, Beyonce, Bad Bunny, boxing, etc., they would still be making more money just from being an entertainment venue than the other clubs in the Championship would be from all their revenue streams. It would be an experiment like which we've never seen in professional football. You've got a slight echo of this in Germany, where Schalke, with their 60,000 average home crowd, are currently top of the second division, but nothing like what would happen. The outgoing of players and the sudden arrival of a gravitationally huge club in the Championship would be it will be an interesting experiment. I would love to see with any other club other than Tottenham Hotspur.
Sounds fascinating, Danny. I'd love to see it.
But no VAR. No VAR, Danny. That's what you're buying. No VAR. It's not bad swap.
Yeah, £250 million for no VAR. I'm not sure that. Okay. Well, I can see how Torquay might think that was a good bargain. All right, listen, Max. I hope we don't have this conversation for too much longer as the season unfolds.
I sincerely hope
Thank you very much indeed for joining. So Max got there with talking about the relegation fight, which is, unless you're involved in it like me, which is an absolute nightmare. Next up, we'll be talking to twice league champion with Arsenal, Perry Groves, about Arsenal and all the rest of it, but hopefully giving the relegation battle a tremendous swerve. That's next here on Talksport.
Because I think out there this morning, many people listening on Talksport and watching live on YouTube would probably agree with Slot. This is what he said about Premier League games and maybe how they're no longer a joy to watch anymore.
If I watch other leagues, I don't think there's so much emphasis on on set pieces. One of the reasons is, and that's sometimes funny for me to do if I watch a Eredivisie game, which I still do, I see goals being disallowed or falls on goalkeepers being given. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's a big difference. Here you can almost hit a goalkeeper in his face and the referee still says, just go on. Do I like it? My football heart doesn't like it. I already said once in this press conference, if you ask me, then thinking about football, I think about 10, 15 years ago about the Barcelona team. Every Sunday evening you were hoping that they would play. And now most of the games I see in the Premier League are not, for me, a joy to watch. But it's always interesting because it's so competitive. And that is what makes this league great, because there's so much competitiveness. Everyone can win from everyone. But just as someone who loves to watch football without being interested in who's winning or losing it, just to be enjoyed, I think there's a big difference now between 3 or 4 years ago in the Premier League.
So you're saying if I watch other leagues, I don't think there's so much emphasis on set pieces. This has become a bit of a bore fest, the Premier League.
Not true, though, is
it should be noted Liverpool scored from 3 corners in their 5-2 win over West Ham at Anfield on Saturday. What's he on about?
The Green Party have won the Denton and Gorton by-election. Labour in 3rd place.
Breaking news that Peter Mandelson has now been arrested. So Mandy and Andy have now both had their collars felt.
What would Andrew Loney tell them to do?
To come clean, be honest. And if Charles is complicit in this cover-up, which I believe he is, then I think he has to fall on his sword.
When you define sex, what your gender or sex, what you mean is biological sex, and that's a man or woman, what you are physically, not what you think you are on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, you're listening to Kelly and Baker here on Talksport. 5 big games tonight. Adrian Durham will be on kickoff from 7 o'clock tonight, taking you all around the grounds as the goals go in. I guess very few, well, none are more important than the game on the South Coast, which is the Danny Welbeck derby between Brighton and Arsenal. Here to preview that with us, I'm delighted to say, former Arsenal league title winner on 2 occasions, Perry Groves. Hi, Perry.
Hello, Perry.
Afternoon, boys.
Listen, Perry, it's crass to call every game a cup final, but until Manchester City crack, Arsenal just got to keep going, and a chance tonight to either maintain their lead or to widen it. Brighton, no mugs though. These are the games Arsenal have to win, aren't they?
Absolutely, Dan. We all know there's no easy games in the Premier League. That's why the Premier League is so exciting. Everybody all around the world watches it. I actually think the middle of the Premier League is probably the strongest that it's ever been. When you play, we're playing away at Brighton. We've seen us get a draw at Brentford. Obviously, Bournemouth are in brilliant form at the minute. So the days of the 95, 96 points, they're gone because these other teams are so good. And we saw, obviously, Wolves beating Liverpool last night. I think Arne Slot was probably clapping because he's getting bored with the football, but Wolves is... first goal from Rodrigo Gomez was brilliant from open play, so he's probably really excited by that. But as you said, Dan, every single game now, because of the little run that Man City are on, every single game is a must-win game. Because even if you draw, in normal circumstances, a draw away at Brighton the way they're playing would be decent. It's not. Arsenal can't afford any draws. They have to win.
Perry, do you have any truck at all with people criticising the way Arsenal are dominating the league so far this year?
Bring it on. I love it, honestly, because it means that you're relevant. And again, this I'm not like Rue Hullet said, I'm not enjoying football. Football's got boring. I can remember a year to 18 months ago, everybody was saying they were bored stiff with a tiki-taka, with playing out from the back and playing loads of passes, not getting anywhere. So it's those ex-players and maybe ex-managers that are moaning when their team ain't winning. If their team was top of the Premier League, you wouldn't hear from them. It would be complete silence. So winning is never boring. Whatever team you watch play, Charlie, obviously you're a big Torquay fan.
Yeah, I am.
Obviously Dan, Spurs. If you come away from a game and you've seen your team win 1-0, 2-1, you don't go in the pub and think, oh, that was a bit boring, wasn't it? That was a bit dull. God, I don't want to watch that again next week.
Maybe football's just boring, 1089. So you brought up Danny Welbeck there, Danny. He's having a season of his life, Perry. 10 goals in the Premier League this season. No one's putting their hand up for that spot behind Harry Kane in the World Cup. Could he make a late run to the plane? Should he? Could he? Is he a safe pair of hands to bring on 5 minutes to go, wang it into Danny?
You know what it is, Charlie, is Danny won't make a late run because he doesn't have to run anymore.
Yeah.
That's the point with Danny Welbeck, because he is so experienced and he knows the game inside out that he is mature. Last season he got 10 Premier League goals. This season he's got 10 Premier League goals. And he's probably the nearest of a like-to-like to Harry Kane that we have, because he likes to link up play, he joins in, he engages centre halves, he can drop deep, his positional play is brilliant. As we saw with his goal against Forest, where it's a brilliant touch on his thigh, he swivels and smashes it in. And it's no coincidence that Fabian Hürzeler, who I think has just turned 18, I think he's just
done his A-levels,
Yeah, exactly. So, but he's gone back. If you look, Brighton was struggling. He's gone back to the older players, like Lewis Dunk at centre half, Milner, Danny Welbeck, Yeah. So he's gone back to go.
Pascal Gross. They're all old enough to be his uncles, you know.
Exactly. And he's just said, I'm a young manager. I'm learning my trade. I need your help and experience. And would you know it, that the older players go in, calm everybody down, and they win their 2 games.
Yeah. He'll be tapping Glenn Murray up next.
As double, Welbeck and Murray up front.
Yeah. Listen, Perry, I can't wish you luck, but I can thank you very much for joining us here on Talksport.
I'd honestly, no hollow words.
No. We've known each other too long, Perry, for it to mean anything. You know full well. Well, I hope it's a good game for the neutral. That I can say with certainty. Thank you very much, Perry Groves, for joining us there. And as I say, repeat to myself a little bit. Adrian Durham from Kickoff will take in all the Premier League action and the Scottish Premiership and the Virtu Trophy semi-final. And all those big matches, including, of course, Newcastle, Manchester United, which is the 8:15 kick-off. And you can hear the Virtu Trophy semi-final, local derby between Luton and Northampton, over on Talksport 2. Right now, you're on Talksport. You're listening to Kelly and Baker. We still got another 120 minutes of this supercharged award-winning stuff to go. Don't go anywhere else.
I've got some sad news in the Cundy household, mate.
Go on, what's happened?
So the lucky Mr. C took our little dog out, Crumble, a little small Bichon. Took him
Crumble.
out. His name's Crumble. Took him out for a walk on
Bit like Chelsea.
Saturday morning, and he's running around like you're happy as a And all of a sudden, she noticed that Crumble's having a bit of a limp up. He looks like he's
crumbling.
He wants to come off. He's giving one of them with his front paws.
Yeah. Well, he's limping about.
He's limping about, mate. And so she brings him home, and I don't know what's wrong with him. She took him to the vets yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Done a cruciate.
What?
Crumble's done a cruciate. Right? Seriously, right? He's out for the rest of the season, poor little thing. He's out for the rest of the season.
Crumble's crumbled.
Crumble's crumbled, mate. Well, it's not a proper Cundy dog unless you have a problem with your leg.
I mean,
right?
That sums your household up.
It sums up the Cundys,
You got no knees in you and no knees in the dog.
So the dog, I didn't even know dogs had cruciates. I had no idea. It's the first thing. So my wife's with the vet, and he's having a little fiddle about, and he turns around and he says,
"Oh yeah,
have you got pet insurance?" It's never a good sign when
that's
they say
not.
that.
No.
Luckily, we do have pet insurance. But he's having an operation on Thursday, mate.
Oh, is he all right though?
No, he's not. He's not,
no.
mate. He's feeling he's a bit withdrawn, feeling very sorry for himself. He's out for the rest of the season. His World Cup hopes are finished.
He's over.
They're over, mate, for little Crumble dog.
He's absolutely crumbled.
He's crumbled.
Poor little thing.
I know.
Yeah, got some lovely guests lined up for the next 60 minutes, including Becky Coleman, who's doing something amazing for charity. Clark Carlisle, of course, friend of the station, former PFA chairman as well, and my mate will be in to talk about his latest initiative as well. Talk to him about the football because he's usually got a pretty beady eye on it, and much else besides. That's after we get some news and sport headlines for you. The sport comes from Max Scott.
Talk Sport.
Thank you, Danny. Good afternoon to the T20 World Cup first, where South Africa are facing New Zealand in the first semi-final. Talksport Sam Ellard's watching for us.
Eventful power play. South Africa 6 overs, 48 for 2. They lost 2 wickets in the second over. McConaughey getting to Cock for 10, then Ryan Rickleton for a golden duck. Aidan Markram dropped on 3. That could be costly. He's raced on to 16. Devil Brevis unbeaten on 15 from 12. I'd say honours even after the power play. South Africa 6 overs gone, 48 for 2.
Thank you, Sam. Now, Talksport's Danny Murphy has told us Liverpool fans are starting to lose faith in Arne Slot. But after another last-minute defeat, Danny says Slot's signings are letting him down.
Frimpong struggled like mad. Kirkhead's struggling, not to the level. Isak, when he did play, he looked so far off it, whether that's fitness, mentality, whatever.
Liverpool's loss at Molineux leaves them in 5th. That's now 2 home wins for Wolves this week, but Simon Jordan's still not happy with Rob Edwards for the way he left Middlesbrough.
He was coming in to put some hundreds of thousands on the particular turd that someone else had left. Right? The bottom line is what I wanted was him to have some loyalty for the people that gave him an opportunity.
Wolves Liverpool play again this Friday night in the FA Cup 5th round live on Talksport. Now, Luke Donald will captain Europe's Ryder Cup team for a 3rd time at Adair Manor in Limerick in 2027. He joined Tony Jacklin as the only European skipper to win back-to-back tournaments after success in Rome and last year in New York. Now he's aiming to make history with 3 in a row. And Live Golf captain John Rahms helped get his colleagues out of Dubai by commissioning a private jet. A number of players risked missing the event in Hong Kong because of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Get more on that on the website at talksport.com.
Talksport News.
The Prime Minister confirms 8 rescue flights will leave the UAE for the UK today, and 3 men have been arrested in London and Wales on suspicion of spying for China. More from the news team at past.
Talksport weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Cloudy and breezy with patchy rain across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, low cloud and fog slowly lifting before some pleasantly warm sunshine.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to Kelly and Baker here on Talk Sport. The second hour of 3 today. The two of us will be here tomorrow and Friday if you want to make alternate arrangements for your life.
Don't tell them, Danny. Don't tell them. The key is not to tell them, then they just turn up expecting it.
No, I think you've got to be fair to people and warn them. We're on for the next 2.5 days, if you like.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to get through. Great guests for you in this hour. I won't spoil it for you in advance, but stick with us because there really are some fascinating stories coming up, as well as we'll keep you across that semi-final of the T20 World Cup, where I just noticed in something you have to. It's a terrible thing that happens, but you have to kind of smother a titter. The Tim Seifert, the New Zealand wicketkeeper, who is having a brilliant World Cup, just took one straight in the kisser.
Yeah, tough.
After it burst through his hands, but he's fine now.
He's
but
right.
you know that moment when you we've all done it in some way, hit your face off a cupboard. When you bent double and you stand up straight to see if there's any blood coming out your nose. He did exactly that.
He had a look.
Now, listen, we know that not only does Charlie have a non-league football podcast, not only is he now the king of organising the cup draws for the non-league, but I am a huge devotee, though not an expert, on the English pyramid outside of the Football League. As I've said before, I think it is literally, if you got a stethoscope and took it to English football, that's its heart. What goes on away from the bright lights of the Football League and the Premier League. Normally people say, not these two wanging on, but it's actually two amazing stories.
Yeah, big stories.
This week in non-league. One of them involving the club that you follow, Torquay United, who have turned, I suppose he's local, I suppose he's high profile. Eventually, Neil Warnock was always going to manage Torquay United.
Well, he managed Torquay. He managed us in 1986, I think. He kept us up.
My God, but that's like 2.5 generations ago.
It's sort of incredible. He was the youth choice at the time, Danny. You know, he managed it. He kept us up. He kept us in the league. I'm saying 1986. Someone will. Yeah, sure. Tell me I'm wrong. And he did a brilliant job then. And he did manage us a couple of seasons ago, or a season ago, in the FA Trophy for a game. I think he was in charge for a game then. But this is him in interim charge. I've said it many times on this station. We nearly went out of business 2 years ago. He was part of. But he's not part of the consortium, but came in and helped the consortium to take over the club and to bring some stability to Torquay United. And since then, he's been in a sort of director of football role and very much in the background. It's not quite worked out for the previous manager. So the call has gone up to Neil Warnock. And we opened last night with a 2-2 draw with Farnborough.
People telling me on the text here that Neil was in charge first of Torquay in 1893. What? 1993. 1993. All right. This is rich. Me going on about somebody being elderly. This is absolutely rich, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why don't we hear from the great man?
Yeah, it's lovely.
The Torquay interim boss Neil Warnock spoke to the club's media channels. Torquay have got media channels.
Oh yeah, everyone
ahead of the 2-2 draw with Farnborough last night. Here's what he had to say about being thrust back into the dugout at the excellent age of 77.
It was a surprise for me to be here today. I mean, I thought I would have been at Tottenham or at Forest or somewhere like that. I could do a better job, couldn't I? But no, they never asked me. So, I've had a few offers from the Division 1 and champion. I love the Championship as well. I love the Championship. And so although I know it's an age, where people don't normally get managerial jobs. I've enjoyed this morning as if I've been here all year. It's lovely to be back with the players. They keep you young.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Martin O'Neill effect, I think, Danny. Everyone's looked at it and gone, "Oh, this works. This can work."
No, he wants to be surrounded by young people in case he needs to give his tractor a push. If the engine seizes.
I will say he's come in.
Are you happy?
He's come in and he's got their heads up. There's been a lack of confidence in recent weeks. Since we went to top of the league, we sort of dropped down and lost the bottom of the league twice, and all those things. So the heads have gone down. And but he's come in and he seems to have given us a ring of confidence. We drew 2-2 last night. I think last week we'd have lost that game 3 or 4-0. And we scored a goal direct from a corner. All typical Neil Warnock things. But I will say, none of this surprises me. This is just another day in Torquay United land, Danny. This is just how it works. It's the club. It's, to quote Ange Postecoglou, who we might get next. You never know. Yeah. It's who we are, mate. It's who we are. Torquay United, they attract this level of drama and this level of narrative.
Yeah. You and John Cadigan are both friends of mine, and so I keep up to date with Torquay rather with too much detail than I need. Now listen, elsewhere in non-league football, this is another amazing story. YouTuber KSI, who's even more famous than Neil Warnock, let's be honest, has bought a minority stake in Dagenham and Redbridge and says he wants to take the 6th-tier club to the Premier League. Here's just a little snippet of the announcement.
I am buying Dagenham and Redbridge Football Club. What?
So how does it feel?
Surreal, bro. Out of this world. Just the idea of it just excites me so much, man. Years ago, I saw the excitement, the happiness, the joy. I want to bring that back and then surpass it. I want the place to be pumping. I want the place to be rocking. I want it to be an event whenever you come here. With this club, I want to do the unthinkable. I want to take Dagenham and Redbridge to the Premier League.
Wow.
I mean, I mentioned to you yesterday when we were chatting about this, that Dagenham, which is in that corridor between London and the East Coast, is in many ways one of the most important towns in English football.
Okay.
You could argue 3 of England's World Cup winning people, the manager and the 2 best players in Martin Peters and Bobby Moore, and of course Sir Alf Ramsey, were born in Dagenham. So was another really successful England manager, Terry Venables. Tony Adams, England captain, was born in Dagenham. John Terry was born in Dagenham. And yet the club, which I guess lives in a kind of West Ham zone of support, has never really pulled its weight. It had those few seasons in the league recently. But I think this is a brilliant thing. The publicity alone is brilliant.
Well, it's fantastic. And people like KSI know how to capture the zeitgeist, Danny, and they know how to use the media and the social media to their own benefit, but also they can apply that to sport and to teams like Dagenham and Redbridge, where you can build a fan base.
And he has been, he's tried a lot of different businesses, but some of them have been very successful. This alternative boxing league that he's got, it's getting loads of traction. I think Wrexham, it may be a one-off, but it may not be as well. It may just be that, we were told for the last 30 years that football was part of the entertainment industry. Now the entertainment industry are bringing their skills and of course the sheer public glamour that these people bring to it to football clubs.
But the old-fashioned ways don't work anymore, Danny. Those old-fashioned ways of running football clubs don't work anymore. You have to embrace social media. You have to embrace young fans. You have to attract a new audience because you're up against so many different outlets and so many different teams.
Yeah, absolutely. You're up against all kinds of other entertainments that are available both in your home and on your phone
and in your pocket. Yeah.
Plus, as you say, the football clubs at the top of the end of the Premier League are absorbing so much attention, so much media space that you simply can't sit there and hope for some kind of trickle down to do it. You've got to take proactive action, if that's a phrase that even exists, to try and improve yourselves. So I look forward now. one of my nephews supports Dagenham and Redbridge,
Okay.
so I look forward to hearing about their progress under KSI and his colleagues. It'll be great
Well,
fun.
if they're the sort of team. They're a bit like Torquay, I think, in the fact they don't do it this season. They'll do it in the next 2. They'll get out of the National League of regional football in the next 2 or 3 years, and then in the National League, and then the National League, unless they bring in 3 up, which I hope they do at some point. It's just a very, very tough division to get out of, and you need to have a very good season and run away with it at the top.
Yeah, and Charlie, when as is inevitable, since we're now on television and all the rest of it here at Talksport, when we have a separate program running parallel to this, where you're allowed to say what you like, I will tell you the story of when I was at a family event in an industrial estate on the edges of Romford, where a girl introduced me.
Oh, yeah.
Was introduced me and told me. I said, well, and what do you do, my dear? I might have said at this stage.
Yes.
She said, oh, I'm a wag. I'm a wag for one of Dagenham's players. And I thought, okay, I had not realised that at school that was a career choice.
Exactly, yeah.
That's how she described herself.
Wagenham and Redbridge.
More about that story off air, Charlie. You're listening to Charlie Baker and me, Danny Kelly. Our next guest is an inspiration, and I can't wait to talk to her. She is charity rower Becky Coleman.
I know you won't be too pleased with the way it finished at the Old Firm game. Wasn't the referee absolutely fantastic? I think he actually jumped over and a couple of players who went down injured.
Yeah.
He never stopped the game once.
Absolutely.
It was like watching football 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't having anybody hanging around or falling down and blowing up and stopping the game. He just got on with it. And amazingly, how many of those players jumped up and carried on playing?
I know.
It's
funny though, Tony.
You know when players do it? It was just fantastic.
You know when players do it, right, and then they fall down and then their team win the ball back. they're straight up, aren't they? On getting back in the box to go and try and score a goal.
Andy, I know it'll be sorry, Ali, it'll be disappointing for you, but I just thought the referee was I thought it was a very, very old-fashioned game in lots of respects. Great, obviously, unbelievable atmosphere.
It was
Commitment
incredible.
from both teams and a great result for Martin, especially at the end.
I've got to say, Tony, I mean, I just think in the grand scheme of things, yes, you're absolutely right. I was delighted at half-time, disappointed at the end of the game. But in the grand scheme of things, well, what's happening up the road? Motherwell, mate, you won't be aware. I think Motherwell have got the best defensive record in Europe. They've only lost 18 goals and they're only 2 points behind, and they've got to play Celtic twice, Hearts twice, Rangers once. It's what an end to the season we're having, mate. It's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, brilliant. And brilliant. I love those stats. Not conceding many goals. That's right up my street. That's right up my street.
I'd write it down for you, Tony. I'd put your name in capital letters up there, mate.
Party have won the Denton and Gorton by-election. Labour in third place.
Breaking news that Peter Mandelson has now been arrested. So Mandy and Andy have now both had their collars felt.
What would Andrew Loney tell them to do?
To come clean, be honest. And if Charles is complicit in this cover-up, which I believe he is, then I think he has to fall on his sword.
When you define sex, or gender or sex, what you mean is biological sex, and that's a man or woman, what you are physically, not what you think you are on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, now listen, let me just, how does a VIP private suite for you and 11 mates for a day at the cricket sound this summer? Yeah, I know, it's my favourite thing about it. Well, time is running out. Thanks to Pitch Experiences, we're sending you to their super box at the Oval for the England against Sri Lanka ODI in total luxury. We're talking fine dining, your own personal mixologist, private balcony and a Q&A with cricket legends while you watch the action. It is the ultimate summer day out.
Yep, for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close this Friday at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a Talksport promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for that. Now, in a handbrake turn, I want to talk about an amazing event that's happening on the 2nd of April. Becky Coleman, first of all, I'm going to say hello, Becky. How are you?
Yes, very good, thanks. Great to be here with you today.
Yeah, she's in the studio,
really, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I want to concentrate on the present and the future, so I'm going to sum up the past in very quick time. Becky was a very keen sports bod, including doing rowing. She then got an illness and got sepsis in the hospital, which means that she's in a wheelchair. But that hasn't stopped her enthusiasm for sport and, of course, for raising money and awareness of all these conditions. So tell us, Becky, about the Adaptive Boat Race Challenge, because to me, what you're attempting to do sounds slightly bonkers.
Yeah, I've got to commit to it now, haven't I, guys?
Yeah. You said you'll do it now, Becky.
That's it. I've got to do it, right? No, so basically, as I kind of recovered from sepsis, I took up rowing at Fulham Reach Boat Club in Hammersmith. And it massively got my speech back and kind of cognition and things that I needed to do to obviously kind of rehabilitate from that. So the challenge is basically the Oxford and Boat Race Championship course. So I'm rowing from Putney Bridge to Chiswick Bridge, and basically it depends on the tide conditions, but we might use a double or a four. I usually row with volunteer rowers at the club, so it's just me rowing with my arms, so I can just use my arms to row. And then usually the volunteers in the boat kind of do a quarter slide on the seat to kind of keep in time with me as well. So yeah, it's really exciting. I usually go every week before or after work at some point training, although it's been a little bit disrupted with the weather recently. So we've had
it's been high,
a few fun nights on the erg, which anyone who knows rowing knows that's pretty brutal. But yeah, definitely.
At least you've had plenty of practice of being wet, Becky, in the last few months, haven't you? Becky, just to repeat that so that people get the full picture, there will be people in the boat possibly with you, and that's fine. That's one thing. But you are going to row the Oxford Cambridge boat race course just using your arms, because we all know, anyone who's spoken over the years, I'm showing off here now. I spent some time with Grobler, so some of the great coaches in rowing, and they all say it's about leg power. So what you're doing is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Charlie sat with me today. There's not a lot of me, to be fair. So
that's okay. Charlie's making up for that.
Danny, she's not 6'8". I'm going to say that.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's a lot of kind of power in the arms, a lot of upper body work, kind of a physio team as well to build that up. But yeah, once you get the momentum, and obviously the river helps a bit with the current and the tide as well. If you get that in your favour, then it's usually get into a rhythm and off you go. So.
Had you ever rowed before you used it for rehab?
No, so I did a couple of sort of Paralympic tryout days, in the lead up to 2012, just trying various sports. My first sport was wheelchair basketball when I first became a wheelchair user as a child, and then I've been on the international wheelchair tennis circuit in the quad category in the lead up to sort of the pandemic and things. So rowing was a completely new sport to me following the sepsis. So yeah, it's been a bit of an adaptation, but one I absolutely love. Really enjoy it, and
it gets you outside. It's an outdoor sport, and it's relying on nature and all those things, and it must be a real tonic.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just having that time to be able to switch off. We all have busy lives doing busy things. That also helps as well, and I think it helped to reset that cognitive kind of function that I really needed to build back up after sepsis as well. I mean, for context, this would have been impossible 18, 20 months ago. Yeah. I basically had slurred speech the whole time for that period while I kind of recovered, going out into busy environments, even like London Bridge Station downstairs. You're just internally overwhelmed. Your brain can't process, can't keep up. When I first started rowing, it actually gave me like pain in my head while I was trying to process it, but I stuck at it, and actually now the results are paying off. So it's definitely helped with that process.
Well, you definitely got your powers of speech back, Becky, which of course I am absolutely delighted about. And sport tends to be about competition against others. I guess in the rehabilitation process, the like of which you have gone through, and I suppose are still going through, it becomes more of a contest almost with yourself, a contest and hopefully a benefit, but to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, I wanted to take this challenge on partly because it's never really been done before, and to highlight that, people with disability can do that. But yeah, it's really kind of something as a marker for myself. I'll be rowing 1 year this April. I actually took it up a couple of days before the Oxford and Cambridge boat race on that beautiful hot summer's day that we had in April, if anyone can remember last year.
Oh, yeah, I remember
just
it.
about remember, right? So yeah, it would be nice to obviously mark that, and also to do something to give back to two organisations that obviously have supported me throughout that journey, and continue to do so as well, and hopefully get others involved in the sport with disabilities.
How would people get involved if they wanted to?
Yeah, so we're quite keen to grow the accessible rowing at Fulham Reach. I've obviously pioneered it, but we're open to having some more disabled rowers, and there's going to be a couple of programmes potentially in the summer. So if you're interested, get in touch with Fulham Reach Boat Club via their website, and they'll be happy to get you set up.
And presumably people can see all about the Adaptive Boat Race Challenge somewhere online. Can you give them an address that they can head to for that? Because I'm sure lots of people listening to your voice will want to do exactly that.
Yeah, so I've got a sponsorship page set up for the UK Sepsis Trust, which obviously helped me quite substantially throughout that period, and their nurse support, and also Fulham Reach as well, which is a charity too. It's a boat club that does not just disability rowing, but we do prisoner rehabilitation. We also do a lot for state schools as well. So the link is Give As You Live, and if you search Boat Race Becky, you'll find it on there.
Give As You Live, Boat Race Becky. Brilliant.
And that's Becky with a Y, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Becky, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and if I might say, and it's a cliche, an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, both.
No, we're really glad to have you. Thank you very much to Becky. So much more to get through in the next little while. First, though, we're going to get you some news and that, and then we'll go back to football and indeed another inspirational person. We'll be talking to the former Burnley and Leeds defender, chairman of the PFA in his time, and who's had his own issues that he's writing about and now getting involved with the NHS about. We'll be talking to the great Clark Carlisle.
game, Chelsea boss Liam Rosenior was asked if he feels there is a disciplinary issue at the club.
No, it's hard to put your finger on it. You have older teams that have disciplinary problems. There's many aspects to what we need to do, but it needs to change. I hold my hands up to that, and it's something we need to start. We're back in tomorrow. We need to have a discussion as a group. We need to make sure that we go into Aston Villa with 11 men on the pitch for 95, 96 minutes to give us the best chance to win the game.
Do you think you've got disciplinary?
No, what do you mean? I don't think I know. I don't think I know. You cannot have that amount of red cards in the season, and they're not. It's not coincidence. Just that red card with
the Neto one.
Yeah, there's when I was doing the comms, right, and that is a tackle where he's taking him down. He don't want to run in the corner. He's probably Martinez come off the bench. He don't fancy it. He's running. He's like, I don't really fancy change. He's taken a little bit of a cheat's way out. He's brought him down.
Yeah,
and he doesn't want to. That's a tackle for someone that's not on a yellow. I don't think he knows he's on a yellow card. I'm not excusing it because it's another cheap yellow card. And the problem you've got, and I've watched every Chelsea game, is we pick up cheap yellow cards, and cheap yellow cards can lead to expensive red ones.
Yeah.
And I see Enzo Fernandez yesterday, Pedro Neto sent off, Enzo Fernandez, our vice captain, gets another yellow card for throwing the ball down, right? That's got to be cut out. Your discipline has got to be on point. And I can't excuse it, and I'm not going to excuse it. It's absolutely terrible. Our discipline record this season is nothing short of shocking.
Is the tide of opinion turning on Arne Slot?
I think a lot of fans don't think they'll get in the top four the way they're playing. Now, there is always the chance you can win the Champions League. You don't have to be the best team in it to win it.
Talksport's Danny Murphy says a European title would prevent Slot receiving his P45, but not a domestic one.
I don't even think the FA Cup would save him if he finished out the top four and got knocked out of the Champions League.
Liverpool are fifth after losing at Wolves. Meanwhile, Galatasaray won't be able to bring fans to Anfield this month. UEFA's decision is due to their fans throwing missiles and lit fireworks at Juventus. Elsewhere, the new All Blacks head coach Dave Rennie isn't fazed by the size of the task he's facing.
I'm extremely proud and honoured, as I've mentioned this morning. I'm well aware of the expectations and responsibility of the role I'm going to be in, but I'm really excited by it.
The last guy, Scott Robertson, was sacked with a 74% win rate. Rennie is the first New Zealand head coach with Pacifica heritage. And Talksport's Adrian Durham has slammed FIFA's decision to move next year's international break to the Easter weekend. The Good Friday, Easter Monday double header is known as make or break.
It's a tradition that we need to keep in this country, so I'm gutted about it. Even though I love international football, I don't think the calendar has to change to accommodate this and to abolish Easter football. I think it's a real shame.
There's more on that at Talksport.com.
Tons to get through. We'll be talking to Stuart Weir about this huge game tonight between Aberdeen and Celtic in the Scottish Premiership. And very soon we'll be joined by Clark Carlisle to talk about an initiative he's involved with the National Health Service. First, though, let's get back to the mighty Eden Gardens in Kolkata to see how the semi-final of the T20 World Cup is going between South Africa and New Zealand. Reporting for Talksport, Sam Ellard.
New Zealand winning the toss, bowling first, and they are all over South Africa. Into the 13th, South Africa 86 for 5, and have got a lot of work to do. New Zealand got off to the perfect start with the ball. McConaughey getting 2 wickets in the second over. He got De Kock and Rickleton for a golden duck. South Africa 12 for 2. They rebuilt nicely for the 3rd wicket with Markram and Brevis steady in the ship. In particular, Devil Brevis looked in good touch. He hit a couple of glorious sixes, but then South Africa lost 3 wickets in 4 overs. Markram, Miller and Brevis all going in quick succession to lead the score 77 for 5 at the halfway stage. In particular, once again, the spin doing the damage, although Jimmy Neesham, the medium pacer, did get Brevis for 34, driving loosely to a full ball, and picked out the fielder at cover. So Stubbs and Jansen still at the crease, in particular Trishan Stubbs, one of the best young batsmen on the T20 circuit. Over the last couple of overs, they're not taking any risks in Africa. They want to just rotate the strike and hopefully have these two at the crease towards the back end of the innings. Jansen's got 9, Stubbs has got 5, 13 overs gone. South Africa have work to do at 91 for 5.
Low score, Danny. Pretty low score, that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't pretend. I would prefer to play, if England was to get through, to play New Zealand in the final. But as you say, there's a long way to go yet. And we've seen in this tournament, low scores don't necessarily mean that you're not going to win. Okay, a few minutes ago we heard from Becky Coleman and her inspiring story about her battle back from sepsis. Our next guest has also been involved in a long-term battle inside his own life. It's a life that I've been intertwined with at various times. Clark Carlisle is the former Burnley and Leeds defender, once described as the brainiest footballer in Britain. Then he ran the PFA for many years. These days he's also one of the people behind the William Hill Sports Book of the Year. And I'm delighted to say
you and incredibly well today. Thank you.
Good news.
Well, look, Clark, some of your troubles, travails with your mental health in your life have been very well documented. And one of the things that's happened with all that is left you with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And it is that and other disorders like that the NHS are attempting to confront with a campaign called Talking Therapies, and you've taken part in that. First of all, tell us about the campaign in general, then we'll get on to what you've specifically done.
Of course, Danny, yeah. And, you know, my contribution is around PTSD, and that's nothing to do with the time that I've spent with you, Danny. Let's just go.
Although that may cause other problems, to be fair, yeah.
No, the NHS, they're undergoing a huge drive now to focus people's attention on anxiety-based disorders, and PTSD is amongst the group of 6. I think there's OCD, social anxiety, phobias, body dysmorphia, and panic disorder. And my contribution is around PTSD, and it is academically proven, but also experientially proven that talking therapy is not just a significant factor in a person's wellness when it comes to addressing PTSD, but it's fundamentally important, Danny. The thing about PTSD is that invariably it is anchored in a significant single moment of crisis or of trauma. And what often happens is that we will maybe treat the symptoms of that anxiety in future, but we don't actually address the core of that anxiety, and that will be that moment of crisis or trauma. And talking therapies are fundamentally important in taking someone along the pathway to addressing that core trauma in a safe and professional environment. So that's the crux of the campaign. It's to get people to become more aware of what these anxiety-based disorders look like, and if that resonates with them, to get them to either talk to their GP to be referred to talking therapies, or they can self-refer online at nhs.uk/talk.
The NHS campaign you're involved in as well is called Behind the Photo, Clark.
Yeah.
In the video,
Amazing.
you share a family photo which you've never shown before, but it's at your son's 18th, and it's a moment when it's a win for you, basically, isn't it? You're sharing a win where you're not experiencing the PTSD symptoms.
Charlie, it's a huge win. It's a perfect term for it in a sporting context, you know, with our background. I mean, that photo was taken this December just gone. And this December just gone marked 9 years since I was last actively suicidal, 12 years from the moment that gave me my PTSD, which was a very brutal suicide attempt. And that happened on the 22nd of December. And what happened annually from there, I would become overwhelmed at that time of year with emotion, with my thoughts and fears and anxieties about the memories of what happened, the impact of what happened, whether it might happen again. I would have nightmares and flashbacks.
Yeah.
And in the first few years, it actually saw me go back into psychiatric hospital at that time of year, you know, for safety and protection. And subsequently, year on year, because I've engaged with talking therapy, because I've adopted new ways of approaching that time of year, of putting support structures, mitigating circumstances in at that time of year, we've gotten to this December just gone where I was fully present for the entirety of not only winter, but specifically, you know, my son's birthday, my eldest daughter, she was in the photo, and she's just given birth to our first grandchild 5 weeks ago, the whole Christmas period and New Year, and I was there. And that's the power of what talking therapy can do. It doesn't just help you cope with PTSD. When you engage with it in the right manner, it can actually remove PTSD from your life.
I mean, that's a fantastic story.
Wonderful.
I want to talk to you about football, Clark, but just tell people what's the best place to start online to find out about the campaign and to see your film.
Yeah, the best place is to go online to nhs.uk/talk, and there you'll see my story amongst several others, people who have, like you said, who have sent in photos that signify, you know, a very pivotal moment in their recovery journey. And mine is being present. What I want to say before we go on to football, Danny, is the thing about PTSD is that, yes, it might be time sensitive like mine was on the 22nd of December, but because of the anxiety that then feeds off it, it came around earlier and earlier each year. So like it would get to November and my anxiety would spike in fear of what was going to come around in December. So if you don't treat your PTSD in the right way, it grows and grows and grows. So we can take these positive steps to not only minimize it, but remove it. And that starts with talking therapy.
Thank you for talking about it as well, Clark. Really appreciate it. Sorry, Danny, let's talk about football.
No, I can back this up with 3 different people from my own close personal life. And I know that the fear of the condition becomes almost as big as the actual condition itself. And so if you can do something to head that off and to help heal yourself and others, then get involved and go and look at Clark's film, because it'll be a starting point for you. But Clark, as someone who used to run the PFA and therefore has experience of footballers at every level, I've got to ask you where you stand in the current debate about whether the game is just shocking to watch now. Ruud Gullit says he can't watch it. Arne Slot says he can't watch it. As the game has changed profoundly in the last 18 months. first Liverpool with their raptor-like pressing last season, and now Arsenal, who've doubled down on that and introduced these battles at set pieces. Are you still enjoying the game?
The game's gone, Danny. Game's gone.
Yeah.
No, it's the evolution of the game. I didn't ever think that I would join that group of people who was like, oh, back in my day. But it happens because, life and sport and football evolves. And we've gotten to a point. In fact, some of this, I think, is a consequence of the measures that we've taken to protect our athletes. We do have a very sanitized game now, but I think an important aspect of that is the authorities and stakeholders are doing everything that they can to minimize head injuries and the impact of CTE and chronic head impacts. And because of that, I think what we're seeing now was some 10 years down the line from when that was brought in, we have a generation of players who aren't fully adept at heading the ball. We have a generation of players because of the EPPP, and we're going through to technical and tactical capabilities. We have a group of players who are more focused on manipulation of the ball and what they do with their feet. And there aren't many old school defenders who just love to head the ball. So when you get one or two people who are, proficient in that area, like you've got Virgil van Dijk for the last couple of years, you've got Gabriel at Arsenal right now, they seem to tower head and shoulders above everyone else, when there once was an age where that was a core constituent part
Absolutely
of defending.
bog standard, wasn't it, for defenders and stuff. Listen, Clark, thank you very, very much for telling us about the project. And it's great to see you looking. You can't always judge by looking so well. It's good to see you, my friend. Clark Carlisle there, everybody.
Danny, can I just say as well, if anyone is experiencing suicidal thoughts, just whenever we talk about it on the show, I just think we should give out this number, which is 116 123, which is the number for the Samaritans. 116 116 123.
Thank you very, very much indeed. I cut Clark slightly short there because Max Scott, who is the busiest man in show business today, has just ran red-faced and panting into the studio with some breaking news. Max.
Yeah, so we're just hearing that Harry Maguire has been given a 15-month suspended sentence by Greek authorities. This is a bit of a crushing blow for Harry Maguire, sort of ending a 6-year fight to clear his name after that brawl was had when he was on holiday on the Isle of Mykonos in 2020. And this was allegedly a fight that happened with authorities surrounding his sister Daisy, who was allegedly injected with a substance, became quite unwell. And Harry Maguire maintains sort of his innocence. This will be appealed, but as it stands, Harry Maguire has been handed a 15-month suspended sentence. We'll bring you more on this as the details come out and get more reaction from people in the know. But interestingly, Harry Maguire's, this could cause complications for Harry Maguire's World Cup future if he has this sentence on him. Obviously, all convictions have to be declared, and so I imagine that this story will run along. But to clarify, Harry Maguire has been given a 15-month suspended sentence for that brawl back in 2020. We understand he will appeal that conviction.
Thank you very much indeed, Max, and no doubt we will be coming back to that in the news sections and beyond in what remains of today's edition of Kelly and Baker. Lots to get through it's the third, and there's still lots to get through before we get to the news at the top of the hour. We'll hear more about Harry Maguire. Joining us next, Stuart Weir, to discuss that monstrous game in Scotland tonight between Aberdeen and Celtic. Celtic don't win. I think you can count them out of the title race. We'll talk about that next here on Talksport.
Bruno, his numbers are incredible, right? And what he's done from in a poor era, well, a poor era in terms of Manchester United, where they were to where they are now, right? But this is my thing with Bruno. He is incredible. But I always compare it to, I look at the Man United teams he's played in, right? And I look at the teams that Steven Gerrard plays in at Liverpool, right? Which were probably equally as bad at times. And I look what Steven Gerrard did for Liverpool in terms of, didn't moan about it, got on with it. Look what he's won them, FA Cups, Champions League. I just feel Bruno could have not, you know what I mean, done more in the bigger games to get Man United over the line. I know he won the FA Cup to win something else. I mean, honestly, some of the teams Steven Gerrard played in, and I played against them, like, yes, Carragher was there, good player, Steven Gerrard. There were times it felt like Steve was playing his own.
It's a fair point you make, but Gerrard didn't have these numbers, and I don't.
No, but he didn't have to have the numbers. No, I'm talking about his trophy cabinet.
But I don't know why. If we're talking about Bruno Fernandes being PFA Player of the Year this year, I don't know why we need to compare him to another player. Let's take Bruno.
No, but I'm talking about in terms of an overall picture where some people will put Bruno compared to, and I can only make that example because I remember playing against certain Liverpool teams.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, but somehow they've managed to win the Champions League, get to Champions League finals, win FA Cups because he's been the difference. Do you know what I mean? So, prime example, Europa League last year, Tottenham.
Yeah.
Where was Bruno?
I hear what you're saying. But if you look at Thierry Henry, right, who you understandably call the best player ever to grace the Premier League, I could name other strikers that have played up top.
Yeah.
Like Didier Drogba, that have pulled their team over the finish line in bigger games like Champions Leagues.
Yeah.
And Henry didn't.
The Green Party have won the Denton and Gorton by-election. Labour in third place.
Breaking news that Peter Mandelson has now been arrested. So Mandy and Andy have now both had their collars felt.
What would Andrew Loney tell them to do?
To come clean, be honest. And if Charles is complicit in this cover-up, which I believe he is, then I think he has to fall on his sword.
When you define sex, what your gender or sex, what you mean is biological sex, and that's a man or woman, what you are physically, not what you think you are on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, you're listening to Kelly and Baker on Talksport in partnership with Toolstation, standing behind every single tradesperson in Britain. Next stop, Toolstation.
Yeah.
Yes, and now we're joined, of course, with lots of Premier League action tonight, but we shouldn't forget about the hugely important game in Scotland, where at Pittodrie, Aberdeen take on a Celtic team who, unless I've misjudged this, cannot afford to come away with anything less than 3 points. It is their critical game in hand behind Rangers and leaders Hearts. To find out if that is the correct reading of the situation, I'm delighted to say we've joined us so often on TalkSport by Stuart Weir. Hi, Stuart.
Hey, Stuart.
Hi, guys. Yes, absolutely a situation tonight, Danny.
Yeah, because the draw with Rangers, where they came back from 2 down, looked like a good result on paper, but you only get 1 point for it. So just let's reiterate, they have to win tonight in the north of Scotland.
If they win tonight, they go 2 points ahead of Rangers, and they'll still be 5 points behind Hearts at the top of the table. But we've reached a stage this season, and few could have predicted this, whereby unless you win, you're almost putting yourself out of contention. And I think, over the last couple of matches, we've seen just how tight it is and how much can swing. You're right, you gain a point for getting a draw, but that's about all you get. You don't gain anything on the opposition because, as it stands just now, Hearts keep winning week on week on week, and it's very difficult to peg people back if they're actually winning and you can't.
They keep winning 1-0, don't they? Although I've got a few Hearts friends, and they are having a terrible time, Danny and Stuart. They are hating every single minute. They cannot relax. They cannot sit still.
No, those are Hibs fans, Charlie.
No,
not
Hearts fans. It's Hearts fans. They're hating every single minute, Stuart. They just want it to be over with.
Yeah. Oh, the torment and the torture. It's marvellous, isn't it? This is what they've been missing for generations. If you've got a good enough memory, you'll remember Hearts were in pole position back in 1986. All they had to do was beat Dundee to take the title, and they lost 2-1 at Dens Park. The same day, Celtic beat St Mirren 5-0 to take the title on the last day. And ever since then, Hearts, they haven't really been anywhere near the title or this close to the title. So you're nearly talking about 3 generations who've all gone through different emotions when it comes to this. The older generation, they're thinking to yourself, don't get too far ahead of yourself. The middle generation have no knowledge of this whatsoever, and the young guys are just constantly nervous.
Do you know what, Stuart? I do think we need to give some praise to Hearts for keeping going, because when they lost Shankland and Devlin, arguably their 2 best players, to medium to long-term injuries, I thought, that's a shame. That's the end of that now. But they have regrouped and kept going.
Yeah, I agree with you, Danny. There's more to this team than just 2 players or 2 key players and taking them out of the mix. And again, I think a lot of people looking at that would have thought, well, what are they going to do now? Lo and behold, as Charlie rightly says, they just keep winning 1-0. And that's all it takes. 1 is enough, as a famous politician once said. And as long as they score 1-0 and score 1 more than the opposition, those 3 points are crucial.
And Rangers, Stuart, do you think that they seem? I feel like they're not being spoken about enough. I feel like that they could be the ones to win it. To be honest,
they could win it, but you cannot play the way you did against Celtic in the first half and then come out and play so abysmally poor in the second half. That just doesn't win you titles. I'd love to know what was said in the dressing room at half time. In that game, it wasn't anything positive, I don't think. And all of this, though, I have to mention Motherwell again.
Of course,
have an outside chance of taking the title.
The hipster's choice.
I've said constantly, they could be the kingmakers. They play Hearts twice and Celtic twice before the end of the season, and that is a good Motherwell team who play decent football. So watch this space.
I mean, Stuart, I'm glad you mentioned Motherwell, because I can throw this into the ring now. With Juventus and Roma at the weekend, when Roma conceded 3 goals, I think that makes Motherwell have the best defensive record of any of the recognised bigger leagues in Europe this season. An incredible thought when you think about the budgets of the teams above them. Motherwell now have conceded less goals than anybody else in Europe in what you might say is a fully professional league. Extraordinary effort on their behalf, and I can't wait for this game tonight to see what's going to happen. Thank you very much to Stuart Ware there for joining us on Talksport. Don't forget that Adrian Durham will keep you up to date with that game, as well as all the Premier League action tonight on Kickoff, where he'll be joined by Alan Pardew and Dean Ashton. That's here on Talksport. And over on Talksport 2 this evening from 7:30, you can hear the semi-final of the Virtue Trophy, local derby between Luton and Northampton, because whether it's commentary or
the Hatters v the Cobblers, Danny, it's the hats v the shoes.
Thank you very much.
It's a brilliant derby.
It should be a good game, and Talksport remains your home of live football.
Plans to expand the site of Wimbledon may include paddle tennis courts on the new site.
Yep.
Paddle courts at Wimbledon. I mean, paddle's popularity in recent years has seen over 1,600 courts across the country.
Yes.
You'll know that. You've probably played in a few of them, attracting a new set of fans from different age groups. Even people Simon age play paddle tennis. But what they're doing at Wimbledon, I mean, the Lawn Tennis Association has run the sport since 2019, but
governing body
insists that tennis's participation has not been damaged due to paddle's popularity.
There is a school of thought that says that the governance of the LTA is the wrong place for paddle to be held underneath, because there is a thought process that is being strangled by the tennis governance, that it is being put into a situation where it is beginning to stop the food chain and supply chain of people playing tennis. There is a school of thought that suggests that there should be an alternate governing body set up that's specifically for paddle, which then can bring in excellent coaching, because unless you're registered as a sport in your own right and have your own set of parameters, you find it difficult to get certain things in place, like work permits for overseas coaches, because a lot of the expertise in paddle is from South America and Spain, because that's where the sport originated from. And so to get work permits for coaches to come over here and to actually provide the excellence to coach the next generation of paddle coaches is a part and parcel of perhaps taking it out of the LTA. And I was put a proposal across my desk about 6 months ago with an investable opportunity looking at creating its own governing body and taking it out from underneath the LTA, because there is a strong thought within those that operate in the paddle field that the LTA are doing precisely what they say they're not doing here.
Yeah, tons to get through in the final hour of Kelly and Baker today, including the latest as we build up to the Football World Cup and the very latest from Premier League darts. The hottest player from the Premier League darts so far will be joining us here on Talksport. Before any of that, we should get some sport headlines for you, and they come to you now from Max Scott.
Talksport Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Good afternoon. To that breaking news first. Harry Maguire has lost his legal battle against Greek authorities and has been handed a 15-month suspended sentence for a brawl on the island of Mykonos in 2020. He's been found guilty of non-serious assault, resisting arrest and attempted bribery. Maguire maintains his innocence and will appeal this verdict. Now, following Liverpool's 2-1 defeat at Wolves last night, Danny Murphy says the mood music's not looking good for Arne Slot.
I mean, I know a lot of fans, follow a lot of people who do stuff on social and stuff, and the tide's turning.
Tonight, though, Arsenal take on a much improved Brighton at the Amex, and Mikel Arteta says dealing with the emotional pressure is one of their biggest challenges.
We have managed a lot of emotions the last 8 months, and the deal from here to the end is going to have to do a lot of things that have nothing to do with emotion as well, to continue to be here and to hope to win what we want to win.
Man City welcome Nottingham Forest, but Michael Carrick says he can't rule out Manchester United in the title race.
Above us now, there's two fantastic teams. There's some really good teams in and around us, so we've had a good run. We're certainly not getting carried away, and we've got to be patient. We've got to be living in the moment a little bit. Certainly take the confidence. Wherever that's going to take us, we'll just have to see.
And some big news in the world of golf today. Luke Donald will captain Team Europe in the 2027 Ryder Cup for the third consecutive time. Talksport's Rupert Bell reckons it's well deserved.
It's a very time-consuming job, but the one thing, he has put his heart and soul into it since he was, remember, a last-minute appointment after Henrik Stenson was going to be captain, then he went over to Live.
Donald will look to make history by becoming the first captain to win 3 consecutive Ryder Cups.
Talk Sport News.
Sir Keir Starmer's defended his decisions on the war in Iran, and he's confirmed 8 flights will leave the UAE for the UK today. More from the news team in half an hour.
Talksport weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Across Scotland and Northern Ireland, cloudy and breezy with patchy rain elsewhere. Low cloud and fog slowly lifting before some pleasantly warm sunshine.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of today's edition of Hawksby and Jacobs, where me, Danny Kelly, and him, Charlie Baker, are sitting in for the legends. Thank you for joining us. We've got a great amount of stuff to get through in this last 60 minutes. Indeed, normally when Charlie and I do these shows, basically we try and fill out about 48 of every 60 minutes with a discussion about biscuits we remember and discontinued ice lollies.
And who played bass?
Yeah, based on that record.
Yeah.
The truth is, of course, there's so much sport today that we have no such luxury afforded us. Indeed, let's get ourselves back right now. Thank you for joining us for this last hour, by the way. Let's get ourselves back to Eden Gardens, the legendary cricket venue in Kolkata, as South Africa and New Zealand continue to play out semi-final of the T20 World Cup. The winners may well face England or India in the final. What's happening, Sam Ellard?
Well, last time you were with me, I told you that halfway stage, South Africa were in big trouble at 77 for 5. They needed the 6-wicket partnership to be a good one. And my goodness me, it was exactly that. It was worth 73 runs. So after 19 overs, 1 over to go, South Africa are 163 for 6. After they lost that 5th wicket, the next 5 overs, they consolidated. Marco Jansen and Tristan Stubbs not taking any risks, going after for the next 5 overs for just 34 runs. The 17th was a big one, going for 15 runs. The 18th was an even bigger one, going for 22 runs. And Marco Jansen is playing an unbelievable innings. He's just got to 50 runs from 27 balls, clearing the ropes on 5 occasions. South Africa's number 7 here is smashing the ball all over Kolkata. The first ball of the 18th, South Africa did lose their 6th wicket. Tristan Stubbs went for 29, bowled by Lockie Ferguson. But Marco Jansen said, I'm going to carry on the danger and the damage, and ended the 19th over with 2 massive sixes over the leg side boundary. He's unbeaten on 52, and he is getting South Africa into a really, really healthy position where you've got 1 over left. South Africa 163 for 6.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. And if any of you want to know what to visualise Marco Jansen doing this, he is the exact shape and dimensions of Peter Crouch.
Ah, yes.
So he has extraordinary long levers. If he gets under the ball, the swing of his bat goes about 60. I mean, seriously, he goes about 16 feet from the top of it through the contact and back out the other side. It's extraordinary to watch, and he's doing great work there for South Africa. Now, regular listeners will know what happens on a Wednesday. It's time for this.
Paddy's Challenge on Talksport with Hawksby and Jacobs. What critics are calling one of the many radio quiz segments happening this week. Paddy Power. 18 plus BeGambleAware.org.
Yeah, now it's time for Paddy's Challenge, our quiz for charity in association with our friends and official betting partner, Paddy Power. In Paddy's Challenge, we put our knowledge of the wonderful world of sport to the test with the chance of raising lots of cash for our nominated charities. I'm playing for the Sporting Memories Network, which is a brilliant thing, of course, and Charlie is raising funds for the Rowcroft Hospice. Helping to manage proceedings and ensure that fair play is our guest quizmaster, Ben Fletcher. Welcome, Fletch.
Good afternoon, and nice to be working with you again, Danny. Thank you for suggesting discontinued ice lollies, by the way. That's a great conversational piece for Weekend Extra Time with me, Ben Fletcher, 1 till 5 Saturday and Sunday morning.
I thought that was a punk band he was recommending.
No, I'm going to start the firing gun by mentioning Zoom. You can't get Zooms anymore. Do you remember those? The fruity rocket lollies?
No, of course. And I don't suppose you can get feasts, maybe coffee feasts.
You can get a feast.
Yeah, but the thing is, Ben, that will take up your whole show, won't it?
Perfect. Let's work for me to do. Anyway,
do they still do a cider lolly? Do we know?
I've never, not sure about that.
Well, you know what? We're down to I think we're down to the last 500 ice cream vans in Britain. There used to be 15,000.
Ice cream van owners, give us a call, 03717. So Paddy's challenge.
That's 2 shows.
That's the whole weekend. That's the whole weekend. Brilliant. So in Paddy's challenge, you'll each be asked 3 multiple choice questions posed by the voice of Paddy Power, Alistair McGowan. The winner will be the player that scores the most points in the event of a tie. You'll both win a chance to raise some cash for your charities. Last time we played, Charlie won and backed Stoke to beat Oxford United in the Championship last week, which they did with a 2-1 scoreline.
Excellent.
So another £38.20 added to the pot for the Roadcroft Hospice. Let's see if we can raise some more cash for your charities this week. The virtual coin toss has taken place off air. It has decreed that Danny Kelly will be going first on this occasion. So, tension bed already fired.
Yeah.
Here comes your first question, Danny. Good luck.
Sheffield Wednesday set an unwanted new record last week as their relegation from the Championship was mathematically confirmed. The earliest in the calendar year that a team has suffered this fate. Which current League One team, demoted from the Championship in March 2002, previously held the record? A. Cardiff City. B. Bolton. Or C. Stockport County.
Because my great friend Kevin supports them, and for no other reason, I'm going to guess Stockport County.
Good one.
Oh, good
What a
shout.
guess.
Yeah,
February relegation breaks the record for the earliest demotion in both English Football League and indeed English football history. Well done, Danny. 1-0 to you. It now moves across to Charlie Baker.
Hello.
Here comes your first question, Charlie.
Who received a player guard of honour in Swansea's match against Preston last week? A. Rapper Snoop Dogg. B. A linesman who'd been injured during the game. Or C. A pizza delivery man who took a wrong turn and ended up on the pitch.
I'm going to say Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Snoop attending his first match as co-owner of the club and treated fans to an hour of classics in a private gig in the canteen.
Gin and juice. Was that the cocktail that was available on the night?
Oh yeah.
While I've got you, Charlie, what do you make of KSI buying Dagenham and Redbridge this week?
We've done a whole chat about it. You should have been listening to the output.
Will it be available? Will it be available on the podcast?
Yeah. No.
Oh, I dare say.
No. We try not to talk about the non-league football. It's tin pot rubbish.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Looking forward to another season in the 6th tier, then, are you, next season?
Yeah.
We'll continue this later on, Charlie.
Says the Billy Bigby from the 5th tier. Yeah, don't worry about that.
Just about safe for next season.
Dracula ice lollies. Dave Graham's been in touch about, Danny.
Yeah.
Wolves have bought them back. Dave in Belfast. It's going to be great for you on the overnights, this, Ben.
What were those ones, the strawberry ones that were shaped like you're holding up just your index finger? Oh, man, them boys was delicious. You started on the thumb.
What were the sort of foamy hand ones? Was it
Feet?
Was that a yogurt?
There was a feet.
They were called funny feet.
Funny feet. Yeah.
Ben, don't waste your show here.
No,
Screwballs. Remember a screwball? Had a bubble gum in the bottom.
I'll be amazed if you can't still get a screwball with that green juice running down the middle of it. Yeah.
I'm just road testing content. When you've got a 0% production budget, you too will understand exactly where I'm coming from. Danny, here comes your second question.
Which item of culturally significant clothing has FIFA said will now be allowed into World Cup matches? A. The Polynesian grass skirt. B. The Scottish sporran. Or C. The Native American buffalo pouch.
Oh, I mean, compared to the question about Snoop Dogg, sporrans.
Pick that one out.
Wow,
absolutely right. This almost seems like a bizarre sentence to say, but talks between FIFA and the SFA concluded. They sat down and had talks over this. Sporran's traditional pouches worn by Scots over their kilts would be allowed in the crowd. Amazing. What if it was face-to-face or over a Zoom call?
They all sound like someone a little bit nervous and embarrassed speaking to their doctor about a problem downstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a problem with my Polynesian skirt.
Say no more. Twice a day for 2 weeks. Right, that's cream, by the way. No other lewd suggestion. Danny, you are leading 2-1 at this moment in time.
The Magnifico. Nick mourns the loss of the Magnifico.
Yeah.
Can't remember it.
Can't remember that one. No.
Picture.
What's your favourite ice cream van tune? Got to be Oh Sol Mio, hasn't it? Do.
You mean just one
My
cornetto?
favourite. Anyone,
just made clips of the week there, Ben.
Where that tape has become slightly stretched.
Oh, so lovely. Yeah.
That's the one. And you can hear that again, probably by in ringtone form at the Talksport shop. Remember that. Charlie, here comes your second question.
In an historic result for the Six Nations, Ireland defeated England at Twickenham. But what was record-breaking about the 42-21 scoreline? A. It was Ireland's highest ever points total at Twickenham. B. It featured the fastest try in Six Nations history. Or C, it was the first match to use a smart ball for all kicks.
I don't know the answer. C feels a bit. I'm going to say C.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I'm afraid it was A.
I thought it was A. And then C felt like, well, they wouldn't put that in just randomly. And they put that in just randomly.
Just looking seductively at you, wasn't it? Ireland's highest ever points total at Twickenham. England's defeat, their 5th heaviest at home, leaves their championship hopes in tatters after 2 defeats and 1 win with away games against Italy.
Nobody
and
enjoyed
France
that game.
If you could see Danny Kelly's face now, listeners, those of you on YouTube.
You can't get a pizzazz anymore. You can still get a feast. But they've really started scrimping on the chocolate inside, says 2243.
It sounds
It probably barely covers the stick now, doesn't it?
It sounds like a long-running podcast series the way we're going. Never mind 2 hours of overnight radio at the weekend. 1 till 5 on Talksport with me, Ben Fletcher. Anyway, I digress. Danny, an opportunity for you to win now, to make it 3 in a row. Here comes your third question.
Olympic champion Keely Hodgkinson broke a world record recently, but what was the quirky significance of the 24-year-old record that she broke? A. The previous record was set on the same day that she was born. B. The previous record was set by her current coach. Or C. The previous record was set in the same location in Wigan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know everything about Keely Hodgkinson, so forgive me, Charlie. A.
3 out of 3, back of the net, bravo!
Absolutely right.
Yolanda Cheplak broke the record the same time as Keely Hodgkinson was born. Quite extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary.
Great quiz question.
Keely proves she's back to her best, crossing the line to smash the women's indoor 800 metres world record, which had stood since the 3rd of March 2002, the day that she was born. Charlie, you still have one remaining question, and because we believed in hashtag forced fun on this floor, let's do it. Question 3, Charlie, just to claw back a bit of credibility.
Yeah, come on.
Which London club's fans have started their St Totteringham's Day celebrations early after Spurs lost again last weekend?
What a question.
A. Arsenal. B. Chelsea. Or C. Fulham.
It's a daft question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still got to get it right.
A. Arsenal.
2 out of 3, not bad at all.
Do you get the impression that our friends down on the 10th floor got to 5-5 on the Friday?
The last one.
We need a question. Come on. St Totteringham's Day, if you're unaware, the unofficial celebration for Arsenal fans that marks the date on which the Gunners are mathematically guaranteed to finish higher in the table than Tottenham, with apologies to Danny Kelly. But it is congratulations to you, Danny. You are today's winner. You've won yourself a free £20 bet that Paddy Power will place for you, so you can try and win some cash for your charity. It just remains for me to ask, what are you going to go for?
I'll go for, because I have skin in the game, Nottingham Forest and West Ham to lose tonight.
Oh, well, Talksport will take you around the grounds for all the goals as they go in. We'll see how you get on and reveal the winnings next week.
Thank you very, very much, Ben. And I don't expect any payment for revising your next 2 shows for you on Talksport. Listen, thank you, everybody, for listening to that. We've got loads more to get through, including the build-up to the World Cup here on Talksport. That's next. But remember, before that, you're listening to Kelly and Baker on Talksport in partnership with Toolstation. Next stop, Toolstation.
Paddy's Challenge on Talksport with Paddy Power. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Let's go to Danny. He's a Spurs fan. Dan?
Right, Danny boy.
Evening, lads. How are you?
I'm all right, Dan. I'm all right. Look, it has turned into an absolute mess at this football club. I don't know what the answer is anymore.
You know what it is, Jamie, and I'm amazed Enix seemed to get a get out of jail free card. Not enough people talking about them. They've been at our club for 25 years. 25 years. Yes, they buy a couple of decent players, but we all know they're not paying the wages. But it is time to get rid. And I've been at the club. I'm not a season ticket holder, but I do go every now and again. And it is so quiet. It's tame. No wonder away teams come there and give us a pasting from time to time. But you know, it's like a perfect storm. You've got our captain Romero, wants out of the club. I look at Mickey van der Ven. He wants out. Yeah. And then what we have done is brought goodish young players coming through the club, and they need the older pros to develop them, keep them under their wing, and sort of progress. But it's like the Titanic there at the minute.
Yeah, but listen, Dan, I get...
Rats sink clear in the Titanic.
I hear what you're saying, right? I hear you, but that conversation needs to be had at the end of the season. Do you know? Like that. Yeah. You're not going to sell the club now, right? Do you know what I mean? They're not leaving now.
The Green Party have won the Denton and Gorton by-election. Labour in third place.
Breaking news that Peter Mandelson has now been arrested. So Mandy and Andy have now both had their collars felt.
What would Andrew Loney tell them to do?
To come clean, be honest. And if Charles is complicit in this cover-up, which I believe he is, then I think he has to fall on his sword.
When you define sex, what your gender or sex, what you mean is biological sex, and that's a man or woman, what you are physically, not what you think you are on a Wednesday afternoon.
Queued up for Rocky IV, Danny, outside the Alexandra Cinema in Newton Abbot. We queued for Ghostbusters not very long before it. Queued up outside, down and round the corner for Rocky IV, and that's what this song was from.
Yeah, James Brown's living in America, and I hope does that cinema still exist?
Oh, the Alex does, yeah. The Alex still exists. Yeah, it's still there.
We're playing that because, of course, we're now 99 days away from the start of the World Cup in America, Mexico and Canada. Joining us to talk about some of the big stories leading up to it is a journalist who is New York-based, formerly at ESPN, CBS, Sports Illustrated, all the rest of it, and his name is very Hispanic. And so in my trial to try and make sure we always get everybody's name right, I've asked him to pronounce it himself.
Oh, great. This is good news.
Hello and welcome to...
Luis Miguel Echegaray.
Hello, Luis Miguel. How are you?
That is a genius way to introduce me. You will never get it wrong. As somebody, by the way, that grew up in the UK, I know too well how much my name can be messed up. So I love that. Happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Luis Miguel, that's why I've got the big microphone. I'm not taking on that name any day soon. Listen, let's start with something serious. I mean, the World Cup is supposed to welcome the football fans and the footballers of the world. Now, of course, the situation in the Middle East is a desperate situation, but it doesn't help when the President of the United States is saying, I don't care whether Iran come or not.
No, I mean, it's not what you want to hear at any point, of course. And look, I think before anything else, boys, we're all human beings here before being football fans. And there's so much going on in the world right now that is, to think of a sporting tournament, the biggest, arguably, next to the Olympics, such as the World Cup, can sometimes think as a second-handed thought. But because, there is so much going on in the world. I'm Peruvian, but I was raised in England, and then I emigrated to the US 20 years ago. I'm a two-time immigrant, fellas. I know what it's like to really go through the storylines of everything that's going on in the world. But also, aside from the fact you mentioned, of course, Danny, the Middle East, and we are not... I definitely am not going to insult our audience by thinking I'm an expert in this, but what I do know is that we're all humans and we're all going through so many things. And the World Cup is meant to be a celebration of the world, not just football itself. And the United States, by the way, is a country of immigrants. It's a country of diversity, of multiculturalism. I live in New York City, arguably the most multicultural place in the world. I grew up in London as well, so I know what it's like to be with so many different cultures and people. And the World Cup is meant to be this door that opens not just to the beautiful game, but to the people. So, it's not just Iran, obviously, Venezuela was very close, fellas, on making the World Cup. It didn't happen. These stories are all over. This is a 48-team World Cup, the biggest in history. We're going to be welcoming more African nations than ever before, more Caribbean nations than ever before. This is meant to be a celebration. And right now, I am very happy about the World Cup. I am selfishly excited to welcome the world. Of course. England, of course, as they play in Panama and New Jersey in the group stages. But you can't help but feel also apprehensive about what's going on as well.
Sure. And I'm going to say, of course, Venezuela, with all due respect to your native continent, Luis Miguel, it's very hard not to qualify from South America these days. It's almost impossible, in fact. And no problem with that. I love South American football. Talk to me. I know you've written a book about Lionel Messi. Talk to me about how important it is, because the United States is not a natural soccer country yet. How important is it that real global superstars like Lionel Messi, despite the fact that he's clearly past his prime, are seen and play well in the upcoming World Cup, do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. And listen, we have to go back to the fact that, in 2023, I was honored enough to be his first one-on-one interview when Messi arrived to Inter Miami, obviously followed his career throughout. We all know about everything that he has done for the game, Barcelona, the World Cup, of course, and individually speaking, arguably, to me, will be revered as the greatest player that's ever lived. But that's for another conversation. But his arrival to the United States was a sort of proverbial earthquake for the game here. Not just Inter Miami, not just MLS. It meant a lot. And I will tell you that the NFL, American football, will always remain king here. Obviously, there's the NBA and college sports as well. But football, very, very slowly, in the last few decades, step by step, is now becoming a Godzilla. It's not about the future of the game here, it's the present. I mean, the amount of people that watch the Premier League, the Champions League, La Liga, Liga MX, in addition to the fact that from a viewership perspective, guys, in America, you can watch all of it. Obviously, you have to pay a fee for certain streaming services. There's no 3 p.m. blackouts. Everything is accessible here. And then from the aforementioned conversation that I just had about the communities of this country, young people are just loving football, soccer so much. And Messi's arrival was a gigantic part of that. Now, the Club World Cup last summer when Inter Miami took place, you just have to look at the crowds when they went to see him play. Copa America in 2024, Argentina, wherever they traveled, they were just massively supported. The Argentinian Federation has an actual camp here in the US as well, so they know the potential of the game here. And Messi's impact and his inclusion in the World Cup is massive. As you said, he's going to turn 39 years old for this summer's World Cup, so it's not like we're going to see prime Messi. And by the way, at Copa America, when Argentina won it again, he wasn't even their best player, but his presence, his leadership, and what he represents remains so significant. So it's a massive thing for him to be both here in the US and taking part in the World Cup. He hasn't confirmed it yet, but obviously all arrows are pointing to the fact, barring injury, that he will take part.
One of the fascinating things I think about this World Cup is a combination of a levelling out of the national teams, Luis Miguel, and the climate means it's very hard to pick a winner. And that's why watching particularly the European season will give us more and more hints. For instance, I thought until this weekend that Brazil had a very good chance. They got a great manager, they got some great forward players, some great defenders. But the injury to Rodrigo, to his ACL, which means he will miss it, means that they've now gone a little bit backwards, in my opinion. It's very hard to pick a winner.
Very, very hard. Just to add to your point about Brazil, I did for Yahoo Sports a few months ago, pretty much around the time when the draw was coming out, and I didn't have Brazil in my top 10. And people were like, why? What, are you crazy? Yes, it's true. The record-breaking World Cup winning champions 5 times Brazil, but they haven't won it since 2002. And I want to remind everybody that Brazil, you're talking about qualifying for the World Cup in South America, fellas. They came fifth. That is terrible for Brazil. And there's a reason why Carlo Ancelotti is there. It's because there's been such an inconsistency. There is talent, absolutely no doubt. But in terms of discipline, specifically against international teams outside of South America, it's very difficult. I still want to see what they do closer to the World Cup. I do think Carlo Ancelotti is the right mode. They have so much talent. Even without Rodrigo, I still think they're a force. I'm more specifically thinking about their fullback positions and defensively speaking. But I think that Brazil are going to be interesting to watch in this one. But to add to your original point, when you look back at the World Cup, more so than not, the favorite usually wins it. So there's not many surprises, right? In the last one, it was Argentina. They were one of the favorites. Before that, it was France. They were one of the favorites. Before that, it was Germany. They were one of the favorites. Spain before that, and so on. I think this one probably has an argument to be made that you might shake that bubble a little bit, but no. I still think that the top 4 favorites, Spain, Argentina, France, and the 3 Lions, I think out of those 4, you might see somebody there. I don't think you're going to see. Now, I think that a Japan might be able to surprise a few people, a Morocco perhaps, Colombia, because they have ridiculous support here. But no, I think out of those 4, you will have a winner.
Listen, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you very much. I'm going to Luis Miguel Echegaray there. Thank you very much.
And Peru do have the all-time greatest kit, Danny, in my opinion.
The sash,
yes. The sash, Luis.
And if you're old enough to remember their great team of the 1970s, Hector Chumpitas, fantastic footballers as well in that Peru team. Cubillo, but particularly Hector Chumpitas. So thanks to Luis Miguel. We'll be doing this every week as we head towards that World Cup. And also ahead of the tournament this summer, comedian Matt Ford has been speaking to some footballing greats on the How to Win the World Cup podcast here on Talksport. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts or on the Talksport app.
That Cole Palmer would need an extra lung to cope with the relentless schedule. So we're back to this non-stop conveyor belt of games that players seem to be on all the time. Until moving to Chelsea in the summer of 2023, Cole Palmer had not played more than 1,000 minutes of senior football in one season. Right. He played 3,750 minutes for Chelsea in his first campaign, 4,180 minutes
40 games.
In his last campaign. Last season.
So?
No, but Maheta goes on. And this wasn't a conversation that happened in the toilet. This is me quoting him from elsewhere.
You followed him around, did you?
I did. When I look at someone like Cole Palmer, If he goes to the World Cup, well, he probably will, won't he?
Yeah.
He could go 3 consecutive summers without a break.
Oh, dear.
People will say he's a millionaire. Yes, he is. But it doesn't give you an extra lung or leg. I want to see Cole Palmer on the pitch because he's the one that makes me dream. So he's back banging the drum again about potential burnout. But do your complaints, Simon, become less effective the more you beat the same drum?
Well, your complaints are useless unless you can provide a solution to the ever-decreasing circle of the requirements of finances to meet the expectations of his own members that don't actually pay anything to be in his union, or pay such a small amount that it's equivalent to an ice cream. That there is no circle to square here. I don't care about their opinion. I care about their suggestion of what the solution looks like.
Is the tide of opinion turning on Arne Slot?
I think a lot of fans don't think they'll get in the top 4 the way they're playing. Now, there is always the chance you can win the Champions League. You don't have to be the best team in it to win it.
Talksport's Danny Murphy says a European title would prevent Slot receiving his P45, but not a domestic one.
I don't even think the FA Cup would save him if he finished out the top 4 and got knocked out of the Champions League.
Liverpool are 5th after losing at Wolves. Meanwhile, Galatasaray won't be able to bring fans to Anfield this month. UEFA's decision is due to their fans throwing missiles and lit fireworks at Juventus. Elsewhere, the new All Blacks head coach Dave Rennie isn't fazed by the size of the task he's facing.
I'm extremely proud and honoured, as I've mentioned this morning. You know, I'm well aware of the expectations and responsibility of the role I'm going to be in, and but I'm really excited by it.
The last guy, Scott Robertson, was sacked with a 74% win rate. Rennie is the first New Zealand head coach with Pacifica heritage. And Talksport's Adrian Durham has slammed FIFA's decision to move next year's international break to the Easter weekend. The Good Friday Easter Monday double header is known as make or break.
It's a tradition that we need to keep in this country. So I'm gutted about it. Even though I love international football, I don't think the calendar has to change to accommodate this and to abolish Easter football. I think it's a real shame.
There's more on that at Talksport.com.
Great walk-on music. Assuming he comes on backwards, Danny.
Well, I want to say about this, of course, Chuck Berry is the father of rock and roll, but never forget Johnny Johnson on the piano there as well, much underrated. That's the walk-on music of our next guest, who finds himself topping the Premier League darts this season. So big welcome. Delighted to say we're joined by Johnny the Ferret Clayton. Hi, Johnny.
Hello, Johnny.
Hi, guys. How are you? You good?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Really good, really good. And well done for choosing that as walk-on music, by
perfect.
the way. Always going
to
got to be a winner with me and Charlie, that's for sure. I've got to ask you because I'm sure you've got a very pat answer to this. But as soon as I said the words "the ferret," people's ears will have shot up, possibly like a ferret. Where did you get that ridiculous name from?
Through my rugby days, to be honest. I was about 9 stone soaking wet when I was playing rugby. I was so skinny, it was unbelievable, right? I've changed now, obviously. I found the food. So
much improved, Johnny. Much improved.
Much improved. So it was through my rugby days, and there was a program on TV named The Gladiators, and rugby boys being rugby boys, teasing, saying that if I ever went on to that program, which I had no chance, they would call me, they would name me the ferret, and it stuck. So that is basically where the ferret came from.
Listen, I want to really get on to your amazing achievements so far this season and last season in the Premier League. But before that, your rise to darts is not the typical one where somebody is, like we've seen with Luke Littler, where they've been playing since they were 3, they're a teenage prodigy, and they're world champion, when they barely left school. Yours is a very different story, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, to be honest. Rugby was my game. I loved rugby. And, it was just, darts was a hobby. My dad played just for the local workingmen's club, but he loved his darts. So every Christmas, as far back as I can remember, when you had the BDO World Championships on BBC One, and the old Eric Bristow, Jockey Wilson, and all them, we all sat down, we watched that. But there's always been a dartboard in the house because Dad used to play. So I've thrown darts, at walls more than a dartboard for many a year, but. It's like it was after like the youth kind of rugby, so maybe 18, 19, when I started to really think, I do enjoy this sport. Join a team. Obviously, then I played for Super Leagues, counties, got my BDO Welsh cap, and then I tried for the PDC and Kew School, and thank God I got through, and I'm here today through that.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to say a bit like Stuart Pearce. You were a plasterer. Now I know you have to practice a lot to be as good as you are at darts, but could you still plaster a wall for me?
I'd plaster the wall, and maybe I wouldn't be able to work to move for a couple of days afterwards. But I think I'd get the wall plastered. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed.
You and Gowan Price have won the 2023 and 2020 PDC World Cup of Darts together. Is there a rivalry between you in Wales, or do you practice together? You're both from a rugby background as well.
Yeah, definitely no rivalry through Wales. We are big mates. We are good friends. Yeah. But on that stage, like, Gazzy always says that there's no friends on stage. Sure. So you just go out, you try and win the game, and then, you're back, as big mates in the back room. Win or lose, it all ends on the stage. The rivalry finishes on stage. But, being a rugby background, like Gaz said in his last interview, I think he said, when I get on that stage, it's the same as rugby. I'd like to rip his head off. It's like, I don't quite, think that way. But
sounds very Gowan Price. It doesn't sound very much like you, that. Yeah, exactly. So night 5 of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're in Cardiff, so a home ground for you. How will that crowd be?
It'll be an absolute fantastic night. They're going to be mental. The Welsh supporting the Welsh. There's no better feeling. I watched the rugby the other day, Wales-France up in Cardiff. Yeah. It didn't go our way, but the support is.
It's a great game, though. It's a great game, Johnny.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, France are superb at the moment, but for us in Cardiff playing darts, it's the same mentality that they want their players, to win. So hopefully myself and Gez can meet in the final tomorrow night, and who knows who picks up that nightly win.
It is worth noting that in both Glasgow and Belfast, you've beaten Luke Littler, who, to most sort of non-experts would definitely be the best player in the world. Without putting a curse on it, how have you? Is there something special about your game that Luke finds difficult to handle?
I don't know. I think you'd have to ask him that question. You know, it's a game of chances. You get that chance against, you know, a player of Luke's, you know, ability, quality. You know, if you can take them chances, you're doing the right thing. So, yeah, it's 2-0 for me at the moment in the Premier League. But I'm sure he'll get his revenge somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
And given that background that you told us about, where you had a proper job and then you become a darts player and you've won big titles with Go and all the rest of it, is this Premier League another stepping stone? What are your long-term ambitions in the game? Because, you know, you've come into it and people will be supporting you because they know that you've done a proper job and all the rest of it. What are your own personal ambitions within the game?
I think, you know, as long as I enjoy the game, I'm going to carry on playing. You know, it's like, you know, I don't think I'm the type of person that if I don't enjoy the game, I'm going to carry on chasing it, you know, around Europe and the UK. If I keep enjoying the game and I'm still doing well, you know, hopefully I'm going to be in the game for maybe 5, 6, 7 years again. Like, you know, so it all depends on.
Indeed, for joining us, Johnny Clayton there. Looking forward to tonight's Premier League darts in Cardiff. And what a lovely, lovely fellow. Let me remind you one more time that you're listening to Kelly and Baker on Talksport in partnership with Toolstation. Stay one step ahead, whatever the job. Next stop, Toolstation.
Because I think out there this morning, many people listening on Talksport and watching live on YouTube would probably agree with Slot. This is what he said about Premier League games and maybe how they're no longer a joy to watch anymore.
If I watch other leagues, I don't think there's so much emphasis on set pieces. One of the reasons is, and that's sometimes funny for me to do, if I watch a Eredivisie game, which I still do, I see goals being disallowed or falls on goalkeepers being given. And I'm like, wow, that's a big difference. Here you can almost hit a goalkeeper in his face and the referee still says, just go on. Do I like it? My football heart doesn't like it. I already said once in this press conference, if you ask me, then thinking about football, I think about 10, 15 years ago about the Barcelona team. Every Sunday evening you were hoping that they would play. And now most of the games I see in the Premier League are not, for me, a joy to watch. But it's always interesting because it's so competitive. And that is what makes this league great, because there's so much competitiveness. Everyone can win from everyone. But just as someone who loves to watch football without being interested in who's winning or losing it, just to be enjoyed, I think there's a big difference now between 3 or 4 years ago in the Premier League.
So he's saying, if I watch other leagues, I don't think there's so much emphasis on set pieces. This has become a bit of a bore fest, the Premier League.
Not true, though, is
it should be noted Liverpool scored from 3 corners in their 5-2 win over West Ham at Anfield on Saturday. Yeah. What's he on about?
Green Party have won the Denton and Gorton by-election. Labour in third place.
Breaking news that Peter Mandelson has now been arrested. So Mandy and Andy have now both had their collars felt.
What would Andrew Loney tell them to do?
To come clean, be honest. And if Charles is complicit in this cover-up, which I believe he is, then I think he has to fall on his sword.
When you define sex, or gender or sex, what you mean is biological sex, and that's a man or woman, what you are physically, not what you think you are on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, listen, we've got a lot to get through before we get to the end of the show. Why don't we go straight away to the semi-final of the T20 World Cup in Kolkata. New Zealand off to an amazing start in their innings. Sam Ellard.
Incredible start. South Africa 169 for 8. After 5.2 overs, New Zealand is 72 without loss. The current run rate is 13.5 runs and over. The required run rate now is 6.5 runs and over. Tim Seifert and Finn Allen basically have come to the crease and gone, we're going to try and hit every single ball to the boundary, and they're doing just that. Tim Seifert 41 from 21, Finn Allen 31 from 11. Great batting. Granted, South Africa haven't been able to execute their lines and lengths, but everything they've thrown at New Zealand has gone away to the boundary, including there a thick outside edge from Finn Allen's bat, which goes over short third man to the boundary. South Africa with the bat were in a really, really precarious position when they were 77 for 5. They were able to finish off the innings really well. Marco Jansen 55 from 30 to get them up to maybe a just below par target, but my goodness me, they're going to need an absolute miracle now to get themselves back into this game. New Zealand absolutely flying, 76 without loss, and for a place in the final they need 94 runs from 87 balls.
Yeah, for a country with 5 million people, New Zealand, etc. in sport. Meanwhile, you've heard some of the news about Harry Maguire and the Greek legal system. With an update on all of that and some detail, here's Alex Crook.
Yeah, good afternoon, Danny. Just to recap what we've been reporting for the last hour or so, Manchester United defender Harry Maguire has today been handed a 15-month suspended sentence by a Greek court following an incident on the island of Mykonos way back in August 2020, actually. Maguire initially was given a suspended sentence of 21 months and 10 days in prison after being found guilty of repeated bodily harm, attempted bribery, violence against public employees and assault. The very next day, Maguire and his legal team lodged an appeal against that verdict. The appeal nullified his conviction and meant there would be a full retrial. The retrial was postponed on not one, not two, not three, but 4 occasions between 2023 and 2025. It finally started over in Greece today, and it concluded Maguire was guilty of non-serious assault, resisting arrest and attempted bribery. As I say, the sentence is 15 months suspended. Speaking to sources close to Harry Maguire, he continues to deny any wrongdoing and plans to appeal this verdict at the Supreme Court. He's also turned down, we're told, a number of opportunities to settle the case out of court, and he's determined that he'll clear his name legally. Now, Maguire wasn't part of these legal proceedings over in Greece. He's been preparing for Manchester United's big game away at Newcastle tonight. They have the opportunity to cement themselves in the top 3 in the Premier League. And he picked up an injury at the weekend. I'm told Maguire is expected to be involved. So that's the very latest as we have it.
Listen, Alex, thank you very, very much.
Alex.
I'm sure that during the Drive programme, that will be discussed at even greater length, because, of course, it could involve problems for England getting Harry into the United
US,
States
yeah,
for
yeah.
the World Cup, because they will be forced to declare that verdict. Somebody else who has already had a very, very busy day with both the Manchester clubs playing this evening, but no doubt is now almost, his head is on fire, is Jamie Jackson, great friend of the show, and the Guardian's Manchester correspondent. Hello, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm amazed you've still got time to talk to us, Jamie, given that news about Harry Maguire. But first of all, I suppose it's worth noting, of course, that if he's going to appeal it, and he says he will, his legal team says he will, it means it's still hanging over him. It's been a real, I'm sure it's been a real issue for him in his life.
Yeah, we're just discussing this off. I'd forgotten just how long ago it was. Sort of summer, I think it was August maybe, or July 2020. And at the time, he was sort of flying for form, and you could maybe sort of trace a little bit back his sort of, his form starting to unravel related to the case. You can understand why, if so. Obviously, the fact that he's protesting his innocence and planning to take it to the Supreme Court gives a loud, clear message that actually, while you say, Danny, that is still hanging over him, and that's not great for anyone if you've got something like that.
Of course
he's
not.
more than willing to continue going through that, because he believes he's innocent. So obviously, we wish him all the best with that. And if you just talk about football, he's having a good season. I mean, even when sort of it was Amarin in charge of Manchester United, he's one of the better players, and he really has come to the fore recently with Martinez coming back at central defence. And it's interesting, again, I'd forgotten that part, yes. If he was selected for the World Cup, if he's got a conviction on his record, that may be very difficult, if not impossible, actually, to get into America. That's a very good point that you sort of indicated there. So we'll have to wait and see, obviously, what the
just
legal
write
process
it down and stick it in your article, Jamie. I'm not proud. It's okay.
Well, George byline it.
Yeah, but back on the rectangle of grass, huge games for both the Manchester sides tonight. But of course, Manchester City, having watched Arsenal win again, they simply cannot afford anything other than a victory against Nottingham Forest tonight. And by the way, nor can Spurs afford anything other than a Manchester City victory tonight.
Yeah, sure. I mean, after we've had this discussion, I'll be going to the Etihad, and without, I don't support Manchester City without wanting to sort of sound, take it for granted. I do expect them to beat Forest. Guardiola, as we all know, is very versed, particularly this part of the season. He loves strokes thrives on this part of the season. So last 10, 11 games of the Championship, title running. They're in the Carabao Cup final against Arsenal as well. FA Cup the weekend, and also the Champions League, Real Madrid coming up. So, they're still competing for all four things that they can win. And, I would be absolutely staggered if they don't win tonight. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be easy. I think Elliot Anderson's a very good player for Forest. I mean, he really is, the amount of times I've seen him. But, I do expect them to win. And, this game now, I think it's April the 21st, is it, against Arsenal in the title sort of running the last few games is going to be epic, massive, use all those sort of cliches that you like, but I think it's because it's correct. But yeah, I actually think City will end up being the champions, to be honest, just because I've seen it so many times before. I know history doesn't always repeat itself, I get that, but I've just got the feeling that Guardiola will find whatever he needs to find.
Yeah, and at Old Trafford, Jamie, is the strongest emotion regret for the Amarim 18 months, or is the strongest emotion delight at how it's going for Michael Carrick at the moment?
Very good question. I'd say a bit of both, really, Charlie. I mean, I think we all sat through Amarin and we're thinking, on the one hand, he seems like a nice guy. We always want people to do well in any sort of walk of life. But at the same time, thinking, crumbs, what are you actually doing here? Yeah. And all sorts, Mainu for me is a massive emblem of this. I just didn't understand, especially with the team struggling. I did not understand what he was seeing on the training ground that was telling him not only that he didn't want to play him, or he wouldn't play him, but he didn't seem to know what his position was, which I just found staggering. So, yeah, I think it is delight if you're of United persuasion for Michael Carrick. He's a very nice guy, but he's a calm operator. He seems to be smart. And, I've said this so many times before because I almost sort of glass half full, but I do give him a bit of a chance of being successful in the long term there if he gets the job. There's still, 10 games left. The wheels could fall off. Maybe they won't. Hopefully they won't for sort of United fans, etc., etc. But, yeah, I mean, it's actually swung so far that now I would be surprised if they don't at least get a point tonight, or you know, sort of beat Newcastle. And that's kind of the magic, if you like, or the sort of turnaround that Michael Carrick's engineered.
Jamie, lovely to talk to you as always, Jamie. But also lovely to see all that vinyl in the background of Jamie's house there. Great to see. Charlie, I can only thank you for the last 3 hours.
Thanks, Danny. I've loved it.
Let's do it again tomorrow, my friend. We'll be back tomorrow, as I say, here on Kelly and Baker, and Friday as well. It only remains for me to thank you all for listening to all or part of the show. If you've enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed doing it, then you've had an absolute blast. Up next, and not to be missed either, is Drive with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent. God bless you all and good afternoon.